Just Brett Anthony coming to you live here this afternoon with a tornado warning that has just been issued for Rusk County here in East Texas. This tornado warning will go until 2:15. It's also for Cherokee County and Rusk County. So two counties here in this warning just issued because of this cell here to the south and west of Rusk. So if you live in Rusk, we need you to go to your shelter right now, and that's going to be that innermost room of your house. If you live upstairs in an apartment, you can get downstairs. That's the best deal. If you can get to a windowless inner room, do that. If you live downstairs, you want to get into that shelter. A closet with no windows is going to be your best bet. We have several cells that are moving up here from the southwest to the northeast this afternoon. This might be just the beginning. But I just want to reassure you that we're going to get through this together. We're going to make it through the afternoon. Everyone's going to come out safe as long as you heed your tornado warning precautions. In fact, that has just tightened up a little bit more, so it's gotten a little bit stronger here. So there's Rusk, there's Highway 69, there's Gallatin. Gallatin's also inside that polygon, what we call the polygon or the red outline. If you live anywhere inside that, including rec law, then we want you inside your shelter right now. We want you to stay there. Meteorologist Chandler Jordan is putting a track on this storm, and these are moving pretty rapidly, roughly at about 40 to 50 miles an hour. So it will be in Rusk at about 1:55. Current time 1:49, so it's just 6 minutes away from Rusk as it moves to the northeast. Reclaw about 2:16, New Salem around 2:24, Anadarko around 2:30, and Laneville at about 2:40 as it continues moving to the northeast. Now, Laneville's not inside the polygon, but still, since it is in that path, if you live in Laneville, I'd be preparing or readying to go to your shelter, and you'd have a few minutes to do that. Even up here toward Walnut Grove, you're inside the polygon. We always say respect the polygon. Anything inside the red shaded area is open for the possibility of this powerful cell here to move into one of those communities. So we continue to track several other cells around the area. For instance, up here toward Longview and Kilgore, we've been watching that cell, but it's this cell that has shown some pretty good rotation on it as it's moving up here. Now, we don't have anything confirmed that it's on the ground, but certainly just looking at that velocity data that I showed you, there was a possibility. And then look here, you got a little bit of a hook trying to form, so we know that we have strong inflow winds coming into that storm right now, and we also have some strong downburst winds coming on the backside of that. And then our Titan indicator is giving us that rotation indicator right in this spot. So meteorologist Chandler Jordan, if you could just kind of click on that Titan indicator and give us kind of an idea. We're going to look inside that storm. Again, that's a picture from about 1:47 on that tornado warned storm, and that tornado warning goes until 2:15. Hail is not much of an issue here. It's pretty small. The probability, though, that this cell does have some hail inside of it, right around 60%. The tornado impact is on the lower side. The winds gusting around that cell are high. They're on that medium to high side at about 7.5, and that tornado warning will take us up until 2:15. The hail impact again is low. The flooding impact at about 4, so there is some heavy rain coming down with that cell, but overall it's going to be this wind and tornado impact possibility that we are most concerned about as this cell moves to the northeast at 36 miles an hour. So we'll take this off, and we may zoom down, kind of drill down on this cell here to the southwest of Rusk. So right in here is apparently where, if we're going to get something that might spin up, it could be right in that area. What is this? FM 23 West, south side of Rusk right now, between County Road 1102. Right in here is where we really want to be watching for the potential. Maybe there might be a wall cloud spotted down there. And if there's a wall cloud, then soon there could be something that's dropping toward the surface. Haven't seen any reports of any kind of funnels yet, but we are in contact with the National Weather Service and their live chat. And we're watching and reading, and they have spotters in the field down in that area. And so far, we don't have anything other than a tornado or a radar indicated tornado warning at this time. So as we continue to watch that, now I'm kind of reading through some of the chat that's going on currently. And let's see, it's okay. So they pass this warning along with that warning on that cell. So heavy rain right over Rusk, lightning all over the place. And as we take a look back here to the southwest, you can see that cell. Right in here is another cell that we've watched from south of Kilgore. That's been moving up into that location. But it's this cell here that we've had particular concerns about across parts of East Texas. Now, it's gotten a little bit stronger. You can see our Titan indicator here just indicating a little bit of a stronger rotation as it's increased just to the southwest of Rusk. So if you click on that, that'll get rid of our toolbar that popped up there. All right. So here we go. Inside that storm, we're looking at the probability of severe hail, only 10%. Tornado warnings come down just a little bit, but now some very strong gusty winds. So we could be having some wind damage in southern parts of Cherokee County, just to the southwest of Rusk at this time. And now we have another tornado warning that has been issued. Meteorologist Chandler Jordan sharing that with me. And that tornado warning is going to come for Gregg and Harrison County. I just showed you that cell when we popped up here in Gregg County and parts of Harrison County. So it's that cell right there as that moves toward Lakeport, just to the east of Kilgore, up toward Longview and Walker's Mill. This tornado warning goes until 2:45 this afternoon. The rotation that we're looking at is right in here. See where that red is meeting the green? So the green indicating winds that are going toward the radar in Shreveport, and the red indicating where the winds are going away from the radar toward Kilgore. So this would be our area of main concern. Let's put a track on that. Watching the lightning. If the lightning's increasing, the cell is getting stronger. So that's our big concern with this cell, because the lightning is starting to increase. And this was a cell that we have. Jesus Martinez, he's in Rusk County, and he was looking back to the northwest. As he left Smith County, was moving over toward Overton, he could see some rotation within that cell, and so now it has tightened up just enough that the Northern National Weather Service has issued a tornado warning for that for Gregg and Harrison County. So Lakeport is the closest location to this spot. That's about 157. Gum Springs at 201. So if I read your name off here, please move and go to your shelter as soon as possible. Hallsville, Nesbitt, Woodlawn, Jefferson, on up into Uncertain. All right, so at Lake Caddo, if you know anybody who might be fishing on Caddo Lake right now, please call them, tell them to get off the lake as soon as possible, because we've got a very powerful cell heading in that direction toward Caddo Lake and Uncertain. Back toward Hallsville, Lakeport. Currently, we are watching this rotation tighten up just a little bit. Again, these are radar-indicated tornadoes. I'm not seeing anything yet that would correspond with anything on the ground, and spotters have not reported anything. But in these types of situations, what we end up doing is issuing these warnings well in advance to give everybody the chance to get to their shelter. National Weather Service is saying this looks to clip the southern portions of the city of Longview and could move over the Longview Airport. So this is a serious cell. And again, we have two cells that we're monitoring, so we want to go back to the other cell. We'll try to split the difference. This is where it gets kind of difficult when you're tracking tornado warnings, that you have two different cells and you have to try to let everyone kind of go back and forth on these cells. So our Titan indicator has this storm strengthening here. This has just crossed over and passed over the city of Rusk over Loop 343, and this is just to the west of County Road 1201 and south of FM 768 North. 110 highway coming into Rusk, seeing the brunt of that cell currently. So there's likely some very low to the ground, almost ground scrubbing clouds just moving overhead right now. Heavy rain. It's daylight, so it gives us an advantage that if we do have a break perhaps in the rain, or it's located in a situation where it's just outside of the rain, that we could be able to see the actual wall cloud and perhaps the tornado if one forms. But again, this is radar indicated at this time. So what we're going to do here is just kind of update you that Cherokee, Rusk County till 2:15. Let's put a track on this, and then we're going to go back up to the Gregg and Harrison County storm system. So we've got that tornado warning. That's moving to the east at about 40 miles an hour, 45 miles an hour. So that puts Reclaw at 209. So about 12 minutes away from Reclaw, about a half hour from Anadarko, Laneville around 226, Henderson at 238, Pine Hill at 247, and then Durgan around 256. So Durgan and Henderson and Laneville are outside of the box, but still, I want you to go or get ready to go to your shelter Recklow, though, is most pressing to get to your shelter at this time. And again, I know we don't have a tornado sighted, and the biggest probably urge you have is to go outside and look. And I would just merely go to your shelter and just hang out there until the storm passes. Lightning again increasing on that cell, so it's getting stronger. All right, now we're going to go up to the Gregg Harrison County cell here, and this one has tightened up just a little bit to the southwest of Lakeport. Kilgore, you are out of the danger right now, so Kilgore not inside that tornado warning. South side of Longview, however, it looks like this is going to pass right across I-20 toward Gum Springs, brush the southern portion of the city of Longview before it heads up toward Hallsville. It looks like the circulation has weakened just a little bit, but many times in situations like this, what we end up seeing is a reorganization of the storm. So we can't be fooled into thinking that this is somehow weakening. It could be just sort of a recycling of the winds within the storm. There's East Texas Regional Airport. Weather Service is concerned about it crossing over the airport, and that seems to be the direction that it's moving up to the northeast. But again, brushing the south side of Longview. North side of Longview still inside that shelter, so if you live in Longview, please head to your shelter. But if you live just across I-20 on the south side of Longview, I'd really head to the shelter and stay there. Again, when we talk about shelters, we're talking about the innermost room of your house. We want something with no windows. Flying broken glass can cause injuries, and so what we're trying to do is avoid that. You think of it this way. You want to put as many walls between you and the outside. So if you're in an interior room, you're essentially putting 8 walls between you and the outside, the 4 walls of your house, the 4 walls of that room inside. Especially if it doesn't have a window, then you're not exposed to any type of flying debris. So that's the safest place to go. Also, if you can get down as low as you can get. So we often say get in, get down, get low, and get covered. So if you can get in your shelter first, and then you can get down, maybe it's on your hands and knees, and you bring a cover, blankets or a pillow or something over your head, especially if you can hear that storm and it is imminent.
Hey, Brett, we have a third tornado warning.
All right, Chandler, where's the third tornado?
Sabine and St. Augustine counties, and also, if you want to look at this while I run over it, they're looking at a possible debris signature with that cell we were just looking at in Gregg County near Lakeport and Longview as well.
Can you switch to correlation coefficient?
Yeah, okay, we can go back there.
Yeah, let's take a look at that one there. So right in, it looks like we see a little bit there. Northwest of Monroe, I think, so right up in this area here.
Close to a TDS.
Oh, really? So, it's almost become a tornadic debris signature right in here. So that's just to the southwest of FM 349. So there's likely a tornado on the ground right in this vicinity here to the southwest of Lakeport. So this makes it even more pressing if you live in Lakeport to head to your shelter. That's Highway 149. If you live anywhere along Highway 149, please head to your shelter. Interstate 20, if you live just to the south of that, up toward Gum Springs. Again, if this is a tornado debris signature, that indicates that we're getting debris lofted into the air. So there is damage in that area, and that would come from a tornado that is on the ground. That green, what I'm looking at here is red would tell me that these are uniform rain droplets. When we start to get into these different colors, then it's not rain. It's something that could be bugs. It could be trees. Or if you get into the blues and greens, you're talking about perhaps some building material. So there might be some damage and something being lofted into the air that we can see. And likely sometimes it's lofted several thousand feet into the air. And that's why the radar can see that. So there's your circulation on our Titan indicator. And that is probably about a 3 to 5 in terms of the wind speeds inside of that. In fact, it's still showing just a tornado impact of 1.1, but this wind impact is over a 6 on this tornado-warned storm in Gregg and Harrison County until 2:45. Also, some moderate to heavy rain coming down with that, and a little bit of hail also being picked up inside that storm as it moves northeast at 42 miles an hour. It has moved right over Lakeport. So if we have a tornado, it is in Lakeport right now, northwest side, just to the south of Gum Springs. So again, I can't urge you enough to get into your shelter as it's imminent into Gum Springs and Hallsville. And if you live in Lakeport, you need to be sheltered up. In fact, we're seeing green against red, and it's almost very tight right in there across the interstate as it moves in that direction. If anybody who was like an over-the-road trucker driving perhaps from Shreveport going west toward Dallas, you might want to have them pull off They do not want to cross into this cell as it moves to the northeast and the other numerous cells that are coming up out of the southwest. We have a couple of other tornado warnings that we need to talk about. So we have this one, Harrison County. We also have the one, we'll check on this one, is a newly formed storm, and that is a more impressive rotation near Ford's Corner and Rosevine for Sabine and San Augustine and Shelby County. This goes until 2:30. The tornado impact in here is about a 2.5, but the wind impact is a 7.5. So sometimes what our Titan indicator will do is it will show us the wind being created from the tornado as a stronger impact before we start to see maybe a tighter couplet from the storm. And so that's why sometimes this number can be lower, but the true impact of the storm can be higher. It's not picking up on a whole lot of velocity or shear, but it's there for sure as that cell moves to the northeast at 36 miles an hour. So we'll track this one. This is northwest of Milam. Milam was close to some 100-degree straight line winds a couple weeks ago. That cell tracks northeast at 42 miles an hour, and that's likely going to take its way up across Highway 87, just past Ford's Corner, up toward East Hamilton and Noble, and on the southern end of Sam Rayburn, as it moves toward Pleasant Hill, or that's Toledo Bend. I think Toledo, yeah, Sam Rayburn's back here, sorry. Toledo Bend. So if you know anybody out on Toledo Bend or camping at Toledo Bend, then they need to abandon that mobile home or that camper that they're in, and they need to go find some sturdier shelter as that heads towards Wall at about 236, Pleasant Hill around 256. And that is a pretty tight signature there. Again, I don't have any confirmed reports of a tornado on the ground, but looking at the radar signature, that would suggest that we do have something of that nature. We could probably check out our correlation coefficient on that one too. Sirens, by the way, are being signaled or sounded right now in Longview. So the outdoor warning siren system is going off in Longview. The possible tornado is crossing I-20 on the south side of Longview. So we'll track this storm, and then we'll go back up to the Longview storm as soon as possible. So there may be a little bit of debris here in these yellow colors showing up. But again, that's near Ford's Corner toward 21. All right, now we're going to go back up to the Gregg County storm. Up here in Longview, again, you might be hearing the sirens in Gregg County right now in the city of Longview, and that is because, and that has gotten a lot stronger. Look at this. We have some bright greens here against those reds near Equipment Park, northwest of Lakeport. Lightning is probably obscuring or flashing around. That's 149. There's Gum Springs again, south side of the tornado crossing I-20. According to the National Weather Service. So I think we have a pretty good ballpark on what we're seeing it here in the radar. So if you're watching from Longview again, or Gum Springs, please be in your shelter right now. There's no time to wait as this storm moves up to the northeast. And again, I say that with urgency, but as long as we get to our safe spot, we're going to be A-OK this afternoon, all right? Here's Hallsville. Hallsville is within what we call the polygon or the red boxed in area. And so because of that, you need to respect anywhere inside that, even back toward Old Kilgore Highway, until this circulation gets farther away from you. I think if you live closer to 31 or Old Kilgore Highway, maybe you stay in your shelter for just a few more minutes. Harleton is right on the edge of that. We know this is moving northeastward, but sometimes these storms can drift back to the northwest a little bit. So Harleton is certainly not out of the ballpark, not out of the woods yet in terms of this storm. Gum Springs, it's imminent to Gum Springs 2 minutes from now. Hallsville in about 10 minutes. Nesbitt around 227, Woodlawn 237, and then up toward Caddo Lake and Jefferson between 242 and 252. Trying to warn you up downstream as much as possible with these cells as they move up in that area. And I know a lot of folks might be out trying to beat a cold front on a day where they're fishing out on Caddo, and they might be having some decent luck, but this is the time to get off the lake. There it is. So now we have a relatively strong tornado indicator that's popping up. In fact, our tornado impact is up to 7.6 with the impact around 6.3. That cell now moving at about 42 miles an hour. We're going to check out the velocity signature inside that. Chandler, if you can kind of maybe find the area, you might have to turn off the tornado warned polygon area, and maybe we can just sort of put a velocity scope on that, or not the scope, but just the inspector, and just kind of hit that. Yeah, so 107 miles an hour. So here we go. We got that's a high-end EF1 tornado if we're at 100.
Almost EF2 criteria.
Yeah, that's almost EF2, and that was one of those concerns today, that we would have some very strong tornadoes. So this is a strong tornado right now, south of Equipment Park, west of Gum Springs. So we'll take this off and kind of give you an idea of where that is again. So that's I-20, and that's the Equipment Park. This is the south end of Longview currently. There's Gum Springs. Let's drill down on that cell. So there is Lily Street. So this is crossing Lily Street, or may have already be on top of Lily Street at this time with very strong winds. There's 281, and if we go down a little bit farther, we'll be able to pick out some other streets here, especially just to the east of where that circulation is. So if you are in any of these streets that we're going to show you here, like Sapphire Street, Lily Street, or 259, please be in your shelter immediately. Do not wait. Do not go to look outside, because we're already picking up some debris that's been in the air with this storm, and we just did an inspection on that storm and showed 107-mile-an-hour winds. So that would be a high-end EF1 tornado if it's making contact with the ground, and indeed it is, but that's just our estimation based on our radar signature. And so that is moving toward 281 and over toward Gum Springs, and this will likely jump here to the northeast in the next radar scan or two, as that moves toward Hallsville. This circulation of really a lot of concern here. The airport, I think, was down to the southeast of here, but Chandler's circling what we're looking at there, and it's going to be that one crossing over 259. I'm sure it has moved over 259 by now, just because it is moving to the east. Let's go back to check out the debris signature if we can on that again. Weather Service is saying they're continuing this tornado warning till 2:45. with a severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado located over Hallsville, or 9 miles east of Longview now, moving to the northeast at 50 miles an hour. So that cell may have jumped over there, but you can see the blues in there. Chandler, I think we may have some damage right here. There's Hallsville. So that's where I think we're seeing the flying debris off of whatever happened back toward Lakeport or in Gum Springs or the south side of Longview.
Yeah, no, it looks like, it must have definitely taken a jump across Interstate 20. We've got some spotters within the National Weather Service Shreveport chat that are currently located throughout various parts of the interstate and safely trying to get a look at this to make sure they're able to see, what exactly is going on with this particular storm.
Yeah, so let's momentarily leave that storm and go down to the Cherokee County storm. There's also a discussion, there may be some debris showing up on this storm here toward New Salem and Reclaw. There might be just a little bit of debris showing up there to the northwest of New Salem. This would correlate here west of New Salem. This is Cherokee and Rusk County till 2:15, so another 5 minutes for this tornado warning.
And they're about to issue a downstream warning for the storm.
I would imagine so. So that'll take it farther into Rusk County. So right now it's in Cherokee County, crossing over into Rusk County. It's right on the Cherokee-Rusk County line to the north of Reclaw. There's New Summerfield. There are spotters in this area. So again, we'll want to do an inspection on that and just see what kind of the winds are looking like inside of that.
Yeah.
And by the way, the new tornado warning will include the city of Henderson, Texas. So what we're looking at here is the winds in green. They're going toward the radar in Shreveport. The winds in red going away from the radar. So again, you're scanning pretty high into the storm. It doesn't look that impressive from this vantage point here, at least that scan, but it looks like we might have had a little bit of debris, so it's hard to tell, and it could have been brief. It could have touched down, and now it's kind of picked back up. But at any rate, what we need you to do is just to be in your shelter. And even at McKnight now in Laneville, we talked about this earlier, you want to be also in your shelter as soon as possible. The storm has moved out of Rusk. Rusk, you're okay momentarily. We'll wait to see if anything else develops. Reclaw, right now, I believe the cell looks to be to your north. You should be fine. Laneville, Pleasant Grove, you need to be into your shelter. And Henderson, we know the city of Henderson is going to be included in the downstream warning for the tornado warning. So if you live in Henderson, best now to shelter in place wherever you are. You probably still have a few minutes if you're in a manufactured or mobile home and you know where you're going to go there immediately. But you have to know where you're going. You don't want to just drive around looking for shelter, because at this point it could get very dangerous, especially since these cells are tracking to the northeast at 50 miles an hour. In fact, Chandler, let's put a track on that and see when that might get into Henderson. Okay. I'm going to guess it's probably within the next half hour or so.
Most definitely.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's moving so fast. There it is. So we just got that downstream warning till 2:45 for Cherokee and Rusk County. So now it transitions away from, say, east central Cherokee to just a small portion of Cherokee County, but most of Rusk County till 2:45 in that cell. So that's the cell that we're looking at in particular. There's McKnight. McKnight would be right in the path of that tornadic cell, and then that heads up toward Henderson within the next half hour or so. In fact, Henderson at 2:39. So in about 27 minutes, it's into Henderson, it's into Chapman just before 3 o'clock, and Tatum just after 3 o'clock. Those are some of the larger towns within the boxed-in area or the polygon. Cushing is outside of that. Jacksonville, if you're watching from Jacksonville, you're looking to your southeast, and you're seeing probably some really nasty-looking skies. Same for Mixon, same for White House, not inside that warning right now. Overton saw the cell that is currently in Gregg County go by. They were watching it carefully as it moved past Overton, and then it got the warning up into Gregg and Harrison County. Let's go back to that cell to the north, and then we'll check the Sabine County storm just in case. So it looks like this has moved, well, it's still parts of Gregg County, or has it moved out of Gregg County? Because it still looks like it's not showing up as Gregg County, but it looks like it's kind of moved out of the city of Longview and out of the southeast toward Hallsville. So, oh, it's moved just across the line. Okay, so it's moved just across the county line at this time.
They sent out a new polygon just to take Gregg County out of it and just keep Harrison County for this newest warning.
Okay. All right, the circulation in western Harrison County is now east of Southeast Loop 281. It's crossing US 80 just west of Hallsville now. So there it is. So again, and I'm getting that information from the National Weather Service, but just kind of passing that along what they're seeing, correlating that with what we're seeing. Look how tight this is. My, oh my, that is really a tight couplet that's come together southwest of Hallsville, northeast of Gum Springs. I'm going to guess we're probably getting some pretty strong wind signatures coming out of that storm at this time. By the way, National Weather Service has canceled the tornado warning for San Augustine County. And that is, I guess, some good news for the folks down in San Augustine County. But for right now, Harrison County, west of Hallsville, that is our big concern. And then this cell, and what's the cell that's, this is the one that's going to be closest. This has just moved into Harrison County. Okay. So this is the Harrison County tornado warning till 2:45. And again, Walker's Mill, Nesbit, Woodlawn, Jefferson, Baldwin, Lodi, Gethsemane till 3:09. Those are all the cities that are at least in the path of the storm if it continues on its northeasterly direction at roughly 42 miles an hour. So there is the cell in question. Chandler, let's drill down, zoom in on that, and get a little closer look at where exactly maybe we can get a better indication on where that is. So that's going to be, here's Highway 80. There's Gum Springs, so it's going to be just south of Highway 80, southwest of Hallsville by just a few miles. But again, the radar has to scan across, and these storms keep moving. And so next time we get an update on this cell could easily have jumped. And now we have a new tornado watch and a new tornado warning that has been issued. You click on the new tornado warning over here and let me see where that one pops up. So that's going to be, that's down in Sabine County. All right, so this is just a new cell that's been issued. You can see that little curl there.
And we also had the tornado watch that was issued for the rest of our counties that weren't included, and that's until 10 p.m.
Okay, so now we have the tornado watch for all of the counties in deep East Texas till 10 o'clock, and that does include Jasper, Newton, and Tyler counties, even outside of our viewing area, but Sabine and San Augustine, Nacogdoches, Angelina, Trinity, and I believe Houston and Panola counties might not have been in the initial tornado watch. They are now till 10 o'clock. So this is going to be you still have all these cells down here to the north or southwest that have to work their way through these warned areas. So here's what we have going on right now. That's the tornado warning in northern Sabine County. And what we'll do is we'll go back to our radar and to kind of walk you down to the south and you have to advance to the next. There it is.
There we go.
Yeah. All right. So here's Harrison County, Highway 80. And this is reflectivity that we're looking at, and we like to correlate this with velocity. So a lot of times what we'll do is we'll show you one, and then look at the next one to correlate it with velocity. And you can see that brighter the red, the stronger the outbound winds. The brighter the green, the stronger the inbound winds. It looks like the inbound winds have weakened just a little bit. Outbound winds on the backside of the storm moving away from Walker's Mill looks like they have strengthened. So we might be in a reorganization phase here for this cell, and then we might see a tighter couplet spinning up. It looks like it's jumped north of Hallsville, more toward Nesbitt and Walker's Mill. So, and it looks also like this circulation may have just broadened out a little bit more. That would be good news. That would be certainly good news. This is in a favorable area, by the way, where we were seeing some very strong winds at about 5,000 feet off the surface, in excess of 65 to 85 miles an hour. So that just promotes just that general direction of those movements that was moving from the southwest. And at the same time at the surface, you've got winds coming in from the southeast. And so that's just natural twisting in the atmosphere. And so if you can get a storm going, the updraft can tilt. And if the updraft tilts, then the storm has a better chance of surviving longer. And it also has a chance of possibly producing a tornado. So those things are coming together on that cell up there. That, by the way, that little orange, we call that a meso indicator, or an indicator that the cell is rotating and turning. This is an indication that the cell is strengthening, with some hail being reported within that cell near McKnight, but the probability of severe hail in there is only 10%. The wind impact, again, quite high, so there's likely some very strong gusty winds. Perhaps the storm is kind of gusting out, or we're having a little bit of a downburst as the wind, or as the storm begins to kind of cycle. It pushes out some colder air, and then it will ingest some warmer, more humid air back into the storm system. And then eventually, as it comes back together, it could end up being a little bit stronger. But it's 2:18 in the afternoon. We have about a half hour left on the extreme eastern Cherokee County, so that's east of New Summerfield, north of Reclaw, and most of Rusk County in the tornado warning for McKnight. Let's check out our correlation coefficient on that. We're looking for our debris signature here. I've not seen a whole lot, maybe just a little bit different. There might be some non-meteorological targets in there, Chandler, but I'm not seeing a ton that would make me super concerned at this time.
Yeah, and our rotation in this particular storm, relatively broad too. So it's not the most impressive thing, but certainly still something to respect. And we know we've got the history with this line all the way as far west as the Metroplex of having the history to produce different areas of rotation and tornadoes earlier in the day today.
All right, so I'm just hearing a well-defined wall cloud passing over Lake Stryker, but no damage along their path as they continue to trail. By the way, City of Longview now deactivated the sirens. So the sirens are now being just turned off in Longview. So I think we could give folks in Longview the all clear. Longview is now outside of the polygon. So if you live in Longview, you can come out of your shelter. You're in the clear. I'll say momentarily. I'm not 100% sure that we won't have additional cells that will move over the same area. If you're watching at noon, we talked about showing you some of that data that was popping up that was showing several cells moving over the same areas. So this might be one of these days where we can't clear you and say, you have one cell and you get out of one tornado warning. We might not be able to say you're done for the day. You may have a second tornado warning before today is said and done. Mainly that would occur over portions, I would say, deep East Texas, so Panola County, Rusk County, Nacogdoches County, maybe southern Cherokee County into Sabine and San Augustine County. Gregg County probably is getting closer and closer to the point where we could tell you that you'll be okay. Same holds true for Smith County. And if you go farther to the west, some of those counties like Rains and Hopkins were dropped from the tornado watch earlier. And so those counties are clear and free of any type of additional severe weather. But anywhere that we are showing you in the tornado watch, we still have to be concerned. And that cell now looks like it's tightened back up again north of Hallsville near Walker's Mill, our tighten indicator, or what it's almost like a microscope into the storm. So we're looking inside the storm and we're looking for certain parameters. We're looking at the maximum hail size potential in there, the probability that it has some hail, and that's quite high at about 80%. If it has a lot of hail, that means it has a strong updraft because little ice crystals and water droplets are being thrown up high into the sky. And of course, the higher they go up into the updraft, the colder the air is. Then they refreeze and then they fall and the updraft tosses them back up again, and those hailstones have a chance to grow larger and larger. Large hail is not one of our bigger concerns with these storms today, due in part to the fact that we've already had a lot of cloud cover and rain. but the winds aloft are not only twisting, they're very fast. And so that's why we're seeing more of a wind impact when we do these inspections on that storm. That's northeast of Hallsville. There's Walker's Mill. There are your lightning strikes. And if the lightning strikes are increasing, a couple of things are happening. One, the storm is strengthening. And two, the rainfall rates are also going to be strengthening. Chandler, if you could click on just on our Titan indicator, it's outside the box. It might just give us an idea of what's happening. So there are some very strong winds inside that cell. So we might be having the potential for some wind damage between Walker's Mill and Hallsville right now, right in here. All right, so we may have some very strong outflow winds into the storm or even inflow winds into the storm. Or what we're definitely seeing is we're not getting a strong couplet in terms of the tornado, but there may be a tornado on the ground and it could be causing some problems. We continue to keep tracking with spotters in the field, and if you are a trained weather spotter and can tell the Weather Service what you're seeing up toward Walker's Mill and Nesbitt, that would be so important for them so that they know and can relay the information out to all the media and that word and emergency managers so that that can be spread to other folks and we can keep everybody out of harm's way. So Gum Springs, you're in the clear now, Longview, and on up to the north where those lightning strikes are just flashing, you are in the clear. Marshall right now, you just have to keep an eye on this cell. I think it's going to move away from Marshall more toward Woodlawn and closer to Nesbitt and Walker's Mill. So there's currently our tornado warned storm up to the northeast. I see a new warning. Oh, they canceled the warning for Cherokee County.
Yeah, they changed the polygon, made it a little bit smaller for that particular storm. I still think we're getting some sorts of signs of rotation near McKnight right now. That's on FM 839 South, the area of rotation we're keeping an eye out for in this particular warning. Looks like over the last couple of scans, it's kind of fallen apart here southwest of Henderson near Pone, but the area we'd keep an eye out for until 2:45 for the possibility of some re-strengthening, because that certainly can happen. We often see it sometimes at these thunderstorms as they continue to move, and I'll draw another circle where we think the rotation might be, or at least very broadly where the rotation is. It looks like it's somewhere in this general vicinity just to the east of Pleasant Grove. And this particular storm still warned until 2:45, and so that means that we're going to continue to see this move off to the north and east. So even if you live somewhere maybe to the southwest of Pine Hill or along 259, got to stay in your safe spot, as that's still in the polygon. And we'll continue to keep an eye out on things, Brett, but at least with this particular cell, hopefully we can continue to see a downtrend of weakening.
Yeah, that would certainly be the case if that's the possibility. I've switched over to another camera. I want to give you some tips here. We'll run through the tips. Chandler's going to reorganize the radar for us and kind of get us back into space here. But again, we have the tornado warning in Rusk County. That's going to go until 2:45. The circulation between Longview and Marshall right now not looking as strong as what it once was. And the one down in Sabine County on the southern end of the Toledo Bend looks like it's about to cross over into parts of Louisiana and out of that viewing area. So, well, we just want to tell you that, if you've got this tornado warning, a couple of things to do. And even before the warning strike, make sure you keep your phone charged. Check your portable chargers. You're going to want to have those in case you have to go back into your shelter several times and there are tornado warnings issued. Also, move your car under cover if you want to avoid any type of hail damage. And identify, this is probably the most important of all these tips, identify a safe spot to shelter. And again, if it's inside your home, essentially what you're looking at is an interior room with as few, if perhaps no windows at all. We said this earlier, hopefully you were watching, if you're just tuning in. If you can put 8 walls between you and the outside, you have a better chance of surviving a storm that could tear apart the house, but perhaps you're inside an interior closet or room with no windows, or a bathroom or something of that nature. It might knock down the walls of the house. It may have a harder time knocking down the walls to those interior rooms. All right, a couple of other tips that we'll go over and talking about when it comes to sheltering. And what's so important here when it comes to manufactured and mobile homes is to take shelter in a sturdy building. So you might think that your manufactured home or your mobile home is tied down and it might be sturdy, but it is no match for winds in excess of 100 miles an hour. It can easily rip that apart. So before you evacuate those types of structures, you want to know where you're going to go, and preferably a sturdy building. If it's a nearby library, if it's City Hall, if your county government opens up a shelter, those are the places you'll want to go to ride out the storm. Know your evacuation route. How are you getting there? You don't want to just drive aimlessly into a spot. You might want to look at watching us on radar and identify some routes that look like they're free and clear of rain. You want to take those routes so you're avoiding the worst part of the storm. And if you're in the vehicle, the best thing to do is get out of the vehicle and get into a sturdy shelter. That could include a gas station if it's nearby. They have rooms where storage rooms and things like that, where we've seen stories of several people huddling together inside of storage places like that and riding out storms. But being in a car is very dangerous. Tornadoes can toss cars up to 1/4 mile. If you can't get out of your car, the best thing to do is to park the car, put it in park, and then hunker down inside the car as low as you can. And that way, if it does throw the car around, I mean, this is only if you just absolutely can't get out of the car, then if you have to hunker down inside the car, you just merely kind of stay there and try to cover yourself with pillows or blankets or something of that nature. And if you have to get out of the car, get to a low spot and then cover your head. So maybe a ditch, make sure there's not a ditch that has fast flowing water, but a drier ditch or something like that where you can get down to a low spot, cover your head, keep yourself away from some flying debris. All right, back to radar we go here. And we've got, again, several tornado warnings that are in place right now. The one that we are watching right now in the center portion of your screen is Rusk County till 2:45. So that's about the next 15 minutes. It's this circulation here south of Henderson, east of Pleasant Grove, northwest of Laneville. So Chandler is circling that area. Not a ton of lightning with these storms. So Chandler, I'm curious to see if these don't appear to be rain wrapped. I don't see a lot of heavy rain with these. So there may be some eyes on these that people can see and maybe give us an idea.
Yeah, we've got our emergency managers that are, spread out and helping out the National Weather Service and also helping us out. And, they are continuing to keep a close eye out on things. And even looking off the screen while you were reading over those safety tips a moment ago, it doesn't really look like each of the 3 signatures on our tornado-warned storms are super impressive. They seem to be cycling up and down and trying their best to regain strength. But the one that is of the most concern right now to us is this particular tornado-warned storm that's still moving throughout Rusk County. Again, this is warned until 2:45 this afternoon. The rotation very broad. You can see it here as we had circled it, and this is where it is currently located just to the south and west of Henderson. And again, this is until 2:45, and we're going to track this out. This is moving off to the northeast at about 40 to 45 miles per hour. So that'll put it in the community of Chapman by 2:51. And notice that all of these counties that are being listed on this, towns that are being listed are out of the polygon, but still we've got to respect it and still at least be prepared for the possibility of a warning to get issued downstream of this once we get there. And that's going to be in Durgin by 3 o'clock. This particular area of thunderstorms will make it to Tatum by 3:08, Grand Bluff by 3:17, and Gill by 3:24. Also getting some word from our partners over at the National Weather Service office in Shreveport. They've gotten a visual report of the circulation that crossed through Hallsville. There was no tornado on the ground, and given the current weakening trend in Harrison County, they plan on letting the warning expire in 15 minutes unless it redevelops. So for now, we will not see a new warning on this storm moving throughout parts of Harrison County right now, and that's until 2:45 as well. So we still got a little bit of time left.
So 14 minutes on that storm, but again, the weakening trend that is going to stay to the south and east of Harleton. In fact, it looks like it's jumped out of the polygon right now, west of Karnak near Woodlawn and Jefferson. This is Highway 59 coming out of Marshall. So that's part of the cell weakening enough that it will not be continued, and that's good news for anybody over at Caddo Lake who might be camping in that direction. So hopefully this will continue to weaken and move up toward Gethsemane and Baldwin here as it crosses 59. All right, so that cell in 14 minutes will be allowed to expire unless there's some sort of big-time reorganization with that. Now, I'm just seeing wall cloud 3 miles southwest of Laneville with a lowering. Let's go in on that storm and see if we can get any kind of details on that one. That's going to be, they said 3 miles southwest of
That would
Laneville.
be here.
So that, yeah, that's outside. It's not even in. So this may be a new warning that'll be coming here. So maybe let's
We'll keep an eye out.
yeah. In fact, can you put a little wind indicator? Maybe we can inspect that a little bit and see
Yeah.
what's going on with the shear on that. If there's any gate-to-gate shear over that storm. The new tornado warning is for an area crossing Toledo Bend. Oh, that's in Sabine Parish, Louisiana. So Sabine County is out of that. So yeah, so this has, this could just be something where the lowering is occurring, but we're seeing some winds that are certainly going away and toward the radar near Anadarko. So we'll keep an eye on that. The one toward McKnight doesn't look especially strong either at this moment. Looks like it's perhaps weakened just a little bit.
Yeah, it looks like the Michael Searcy, new wall cloud rotating. He also said the same thing, 3 miles southwest of Laneville, no ground contact. And the same emergency manager said visual by spotter. So it's two different reports of a wall cloud 3 miles southwest. And I was going to say the actual rotation, Brett, within this Warren storm we were looking at, pretty much almost non-existent now. But it certainly looks like this is much better, and the Titan indicator picking up on it.
Yeah, and so the whole cell may have just sort of recycled and then and spun something up stronger on the southwest side. So it may be moisture feeding in from the southeast, and then of course the winds are gusting out and it's being pulled back into the storm from the western flank and from the eastern flank. And so the Titan indicator now jumping up to about a 2.5 to 5, not totally up in that real high end range, but it is showing a little bit of a tornado impact at around the 2.5 currently, as that circulation has crossed now to the east of Anadarko. Let's track this out to the east. We know it's not warned right now, but it could become warned real soon. So let's give everyone kind of a heads up. Mount Enterprise, you'd want to watch that cell. In Mount Enterprise, we've seen at least 2 episodes this year where you've had tornadoes very close. Whispering Pines RV Park, I believe another portion of Mount Enterprise was hit back in either March or April from a tornado. And so you're very close to that again. You might just be just to the south of it, but certainly worth watching. So Laneville 237, Brockfield 250, Pine Hill 255, and Pine Hill's another town that has seen has been under several tornado warnings so far in 2022. And then here's Carthage way downstream at about 314. So that's 45 minutes away. So we'll give you 45 minutes warning in Carthage to head to your shelter right now. And again, none of this has been tapped by any earlier storms. So this environment over here is pretty conducive for perhaps that cell to gain strength and move to the northeast toward Oak Flats. Laneville right now is just to the northeast of that storm, and this is the area that spotters, at least 2 spotters, have seen a wall cloud. So we're waiting for a tornado warning to be issued onto that part of the cell. Oak Flats, here's South County Road 437. And then here's West County Road 4223. So if you live in Anadarko, you're looking out to the east and seeing the backside of this storm as it moves away. If you're living in Oak Flats, and I want you, if you're in Oak Flats, to head to your shelter right now because the circulation is going to cross overhead. You might be able to get a photo of that, but you have to do it safely. If you do, share that with us, 903-600-2600. And then we can share that with everybody else. All right, so we're looking here at the Rusk County tornado warning till 2:45, so 10 more minutes on this cell. And yeah, I don't really see much in the way of a circulation there, but they might let this one ride out or perhaps reissue perhaps a little bit farther to the south on that cell. That's it right now. We'll widen all the way out and maybe go back to reflectivity and put this back into motion. So we have a severe thunderstorm warning, by the way, in Houston County. And it has a tornado possible tag on it.
They just issued a new tornado warning for that area of circulation we were looking at.
Okay, so the wall cloud has prompted a tornado warning now in southern Rusk County. That's going to be western Panola County. So if you're in Pleasant Grove, you're okay. If you're in Recklaw, you're okay. If you're in Glen Fawn, you're okay in Rusk County. Sometimes when you look at the overall counties, the way that we call the polygons or the areas are outlined, does not include an entire county. it includes a portion of the county, even though we will say it's the whole county. So that's important to reason where you're going to be in most, let's say, most danger. So Brockfield would be one of those places as that new circulation, that wall cloud. So there's a confirmed wall cloud, at least east of Anadarko, southwest or south now of Laneville, out FM 225 south and Oak Flats. Here's FM 2496 going into Oak Flats. So my big concern here would be this area of Oak Flats. In fact, if we zoom in perhaps on any one of those county roads down there, maybe they'll pop up so we can give everybody. They're at South County Road 3163. So if you live along that area, please head to your shelter right now. Take shelter, most interior room if you can. Out to the northeast of that, that's going to be, I think it's going to split Laneville and Oak Flats, but the way it's moving, it's too close to Laneville. This is FM, I think, 220. Can you pan that down just a little bit? So this is going to be, or I'm sorry, the other direction. Oh yeah, 225 south. So 225 south heading into Laneville. That area there, anyone living along 225 south of Laneville needs to be in your shelter. West FM 2496, I would probably, on the southeast side of Oak Flats, keep an eye on the storm as it continues moving. This is a new tornado warning now until 3 o'clock. So this is 23 more minutes added to the tornado warning that was expected to expire at 2:45. This one likely will be allowed to expire. This cell here, as it heads toward Pine Hill, will continue, and it heads more into Panola County. So you can see Carthage is not included in it. Gary City, Dotson not included in it. It's essentially this western little triangle here between Dotson and up to the northwest of up toward Tatum. So Dotson and Tatum, that between those two areas there, that's the tornado warned portion of the storm. The cell itself is back here near Laneville, between Oak Flats and Laneville, heading northeast at about 40 miles an hour, taking it toward Brockfield at 250, Pine Hill around 255, Delray at 3 o'clock, Tatum at 3:14, Grand Bluff at 3:21, and Gill around 3:29. So this is going to continue moving in this direction. At any point, this could produce a tornado. We still haven't heard whether or not we've heard of any damage, though. It looked like near Longview, on the south side of Longview toward Lakeport, there was an indication that there might have been debris, or at least a debris signature showing up on radar. So there might be some damage in that area. Nothing confirmed yet, but Longview's been cleared from any type of additional storm at this time. So
yeah, and one of our emergency managers, and it sounds like multiple emergency spotters and managers have eyes on this particular area of rotation northeast of Laneville. And we're getting some word that, no ground contact yet. It's continuing to tighten up. Ceilings on the wall are about 300 to 400 feet. Excuse me.
Wow.
300 or 400 feet.
That's getting close.
It is getting close.
Yeah. So these are ground scrubbing, fast moving cells that are racing across deep East Texas here this afternoon. And again, we had plenty of showers and thunderstorms back to the northwest toward Tyler and back to toward Anderson County and Palestine and toward Mineola and up into Lindale and then northeast of that toward, I want to say, Ore City. And we finally did get a tornado warning a little farther south of that toward Longview in some of the area that was perhaps just a little less worked over by the atmosphere this afternoon. And so now the storms, as they move into those areas, are tapping into that energy, tapping into that moisture, that unused moisture, has all of that source to work with. And so that's why these have gotten a little bit stronger. In addition to that, the cold front is kind of now starting to move farther to the southeast. And so we thought there'd be a chance as we got into mid to late afternoon for a little reinvigoration of the storms very close to the cold front. I believe that's also happening as the showers and thunderstorms continue to develop and the front moves farther to the southeast. Once we can get the front past a certain town, for instance, past Tyler, past Mineola, past Lindale, the threat goes down appreciably. The storms suddenly, if there are any additional storms, there will be what we call elevated. They can't become surface-based. They could have a little bit of hail, certainly heavy rain and dangerous lightning. But it's really these types of storms that are very close to the ground, and those lifted condensation levels being so low today, meaning that you don't have to go very high into the sky for the condensation or the vapor to turn into clouds. And so if it's that close to the ground, it doesn't have that far to go to touch the ground to become a tornado. Remember, if it's not touching the ground, it's a funnel cloud. Touches the ground, it's a tornado. So that's what we're watching very carefully. There, wind shear now on that 82.
Yeah,
so that's got stronger.
The gate-to-gate shear looks pretty impressive, and it's certainly tightened over the last couple of scans. That's for sure.
Okay, so that's. All right, so we're getting word from Gregg County Sheriff of no damage in Kilgore or Longview. The Kilgore area, I wouldn't have expected any, as that's to the east. Longview area, that storm must have stayed just to the south. We'll wait and see if they give us any other reports, maybe back toward Lakeport or anything like that. Our indication, again, when we shoot the radar beam, or the National Weather Service shoots the radar beam from Shreveport, it shoots several thousand feet into the sky. And so there may be some elevated wind speeds a little bit stronger. But if we just had a portion of that, a percentage of that to reach the surface, then we certainly could have a small tornado trying to form, or that circulation is certainly getting tighter there just to the east of Laneville. I feel like we've been on this as it's moving not very rapidly at all. It feels like it's just crawling along. But they're saying it's going to pass north of 1798 Patrick. And for the previously mentioned circulation heading into Cherokee County, we're just going, there's another circulation back in Cherokee County that they're just going to go with a severe thunderstorm warning on. So there's another one back here to the southwest. This is one of these, I think it's this one here. So this was a tornado possible. Anytime you see those slashes inside a severe thunderstorm, it means that it's a strong thunderstorm, but it's a thunderstorm warning, but it has the capability of producing a tornado. The circulation within that cell might not be strong enough. You can see that circulation here. So that's near Grapeland, that's near Kennard, and west of Wells, there's Alto. So this is going to cross into Cherokee County, there it is. So the new severe thunderstorm warning was just issued for Cherokee and Nacogdoches County till 3:30 as the lightning continues to increase on that cell. And as it increases, they're just thinking right now that it may not have enough to produce a tornado, but again, sometimes tornadoes do spin up in and around severe thunderstorm warned storms. You don't necessarily have a tornado warned storm to have a tornado. You can have tornadoes inside a severe thunderstorm warning. So that's why we often tell you, if you get a severe thunderstorm warning, you might want to take shelter also, just in case it produces a tornado. With a cell like that in Cherokee County, I'd keep a very close eye on it. There's a little bit of a history of it potentially doing that in Houston County. So as that cell drifts over into Cherokee County, I wouldn't say that we are in the clear entirely. There's that cell near Laneville, and it continues to tighten up. In fact, our tighten indicator suggests that it's getting a little bit stronger at this time now. All right, so they're saying the area of circulation in Rusk County is between Laneville and Brockfield. That's what we've been basically showing you at this time. I'm just, and they have a spotter reporting a funnel trying to drop just north of Laneville. So here's Pine Hill, so right in here. Chandler, you want to click on our Titan indicator and see what it's going to tell us about the winds inside this storm. So we're zooming in. Oh, so it's going to be right here. So this might be where the funnel is starting to show up near FM 225 South. Again, north of Oak Flats. This whole circulation just seems to be spinning right over top of this area and just crawling along. I mean, it is not moving very fast. And so we may have seen something back here between Laneville and Oak Flats, and now that circulation is just sort of, wrapped and spun itself back up to the northeast, recycling, perhaps stealing some of the energy from the south flank of that storm, pushing it back up, or perhaps the storm's just kind of drifting northward here toward 225 South. Now it's here. Now there's Brockfield, all right? And so now we've got a tighter circulation on that cell near South FM 95. This is South County Road 317, going right up inside of that. And then this is going to be 259. So it's crossed over 259. Brockfield here. Here's likely downtown Brockfield. So right through the downtown area. And that circulation is sitting just over top of that right now.
And just as the Titan indicator is showing as well, we're getting reports from emergency managers, rapid rotation within this cell.
All right, so that's doing a pretty good job then of indicating what's happening inside that cell. Probability of hail, so there's a 100% chance that that storm has some hail in it. So it's got a powerful updraft to it. The tornado impact is growing, and that wind impact is also growing on this. So we could have a troublesome cell here within minutes. So if you live in Brockfield, Pine Hill, please head to your shelter. now is the time to go to that shelter. Again, we talk about the innermost room of your house. Head there. If it's an apartment, head there. Upstairs in an apartment, you can find an innermost bathroom with no windows. That'd be a safe place to go. Unfortunately, if you're in a manufactured or mobile home, it's probably too late, so you need to find the most interior room in that structure if you can. If you're in Pine Hill and you can get to a shelter within minutes, you could possibly do that. David Littman has some information. We're going to go over to David Littman, who was at the anchor desk this afternoon. David?
Yeah, Brett, just want to add in as we're talking about what we've seen from Gregg County. We have the update from the Gregg County Sheriff's Office that the deputies saw some rotation in the Rolling Meadows area, just to the northeast of Kilgore. Deputies went and checked it out. They say they believe there was a funnel cloud there, but it did not touch down. They looked, they saw there was no damage. So that's what we're seeing so far out of Gregg County.
All right, thank you very much, David Littman, reporting from the anchor desk this afternoon as we continue to track the tornado warnings across the area. We did have a tornado warning in Gregg County earlier, but as David just reported, no reports of any damage, but a funnel cloud was sighted in that area. Same holds true here for this cell that we're zoomed in toward Pine Hill and Brockfield. The rotation is strengthening. There are no reports of any tornado yet, but boy, there's a lot of concern and a lot of eyeballs on this storm as it continues moving to the northeast. In fact, we've got this tornado warn storm for Panola, Rusk County till 3 o'clock. The thunderstorm is thought of capable of producing a tornado, was located near Minden, or about 8 miles southeast of Henderson, moving to the northeast at 45 miles an hour. That's not a separate warning, is it? Is that just popped up on? No, that's the same one. It's Panola and Rusk County. All right, so that's moving. There's Brockfield. It's just to the west of Brockfield. There's our Titan indicator showing you that the rotation has strengthened quite a bit inside that cell.
And I'd say the lightning, too, has increased pretty significantly over the last few minutes as well.
Okay, so the best scenario here is we have a ton of tornado warnings, but we get nothing to touch down and hit the ground, and the circulations are all sort of strong enough to produce something. There may be several funnels spotted today, but somehow we just don't get anything to make it to the surface, and that would be really good news. But we continue to track these anyway. That looks like it's a decently broad rotation. It would have to tighten up a little bit more for me to be super concerned about it, but because I want to keep everybody safe, we want you to go to, in Brockfield, we want you to go to your innermost room of your house. Also Pine Hill. Here's Carthage now, there's Delray, there's Chapman. They're all within what we call the polygon or the boxed in area. So with that, in that boxed in area, you want to be in your shelter right now. That goes until 3 o'clock. So essentially the next 11 minutes. But Chandler, I would think that this is going to get extended just the way it's slow moving and the way it's just kind of churning along to the northeast.
Yeah, especially with all the eyes that we have on it currently. I think, I wouldn't be surprised either if over the next 10 to 15 minutes we were to see another extended warning, and definitely even downstream of here, places like Carthage, Delray, Beckville, Grand Bluff. Even though this isn't in your neighborhood right now, definitely need to be prepared for the fact that you might have to evacuate where you are and make it into your safe spot.
Yeah, for sure. These areas here have not had much in the way of rain and thunder. Beckville has a few thunderstorms back up here toward Durgin. So as these cells move into that environment, I still think the Pine Hill, Bunko, Dotson area, Delray, sort of untouched today by any type of thunderstorms, might be why we're seeing this increase in lightning strikes. So the increase in lightning strikes are telling us this is really a strengthening thunderstorm. That's one of the reasons that we've seen our Titan indicator now go to a medium on that rotation strength. So it's anywhere from about a 5 to around a 7. The next step would be a weak tornado, or perhaps a high-end meso or high-end circulation on that cell. There's certainly some stronger winds inside here. We sampled about an 82-mile-an-hour wind earlier. Funnel clouds have been reported in that area, but nothing touching the ground now that it's crossed 259. Spotters continue to keep an eye on that, but no ground contact is visible at this time. And let's see, radar does not indicate any tornadic debris signatures, is what the National Weather Service is saying. We have not tried to go into that yet, just because we just don't think that we've had anything strong enough to produce a tornado on the ground, and we haven't had any reports of that. That would be our next step, is that if we thought there was something on the ground creating a tornado, we would check out the tornado debris signature. And if we saw something like that, then it kind of heightens that concern that we've got something on the ground and it's moving. This is, again, moving to the northeast. pretty rapidly, 45 to 50 miles an hour. This cell, though, feels like it's just been kind of crawling along a little bit slower than that as it moves toward Pine Hill. So let's see, we're seeing some.
And if it continues to at least try and cycle like we've gotten indications, that might be also why we're seeing an increase in lightning within this particular tornado-warned storm. So the circulation's still northwest of South County Road 364, just to the, or excuse me, northwest of there, southwest of Pine Hill. So here's the area of circulation that we're keeping an eye out for. I think we're going to get another scan here with an update from our radar, or an update for our radar data here in the next couple of minutes, and we'll be able to put another track on that for you. But this is still continuing to move off to the north and east. So if you've got folks, or if you yourself live in Chapman, got to be in your safe spot now. This is right along State Highway 79, just to the west and southwest of Delray, near Pine Hill. We've also seen an increase in lightning near Pine Hill. This is near East FM 1798, and this is again moving off to the northeast at about 40 to 45 miles per hour. And we've still got about 7 to 8 minutes, but if we continue to see an up and down cycling, probably going to get another warning.
Yeah, probably so, I would imagine. And they might just let it, ride it on out until it makes it into Louisiana, because now we're basically about a county away from it moving out of Panola County into Louisiana. I just saw we got some video into the newsroom of a Gregg County funnel, so we'll try to get that to put together for you and show you that. But again, we knew we had at least a funnel cloud up in Gregg County with a tornado-warned storm earlier near Lakeport on the south end of Longview back toward Lakeport. And it looks like that has since moved into Harrison County and has weakened. Meantime, our main concern is this cell here, tornado warned storm till 3 o'clock, so about 7 more minutes, and that cell currently is moving toward Pine Hill. So if you're watching us from Pine Hill, please head to your shelter, especially with that concerning gate-to-gate shear indicator.
Yeah, I think this thing's going back and forth, trying its best to produce a tornado and get it on the ground, but thankfully we haven't gotten any indications of that so far.
Yeah, if we had one at that strength, it would be what we would term an EF1, so that would be strong enough to do some structural damage. It has tightened up here, especially in this green and red area, and that's a brighter green area. This is East FM 1798. So if you live in Pine Hill or on or near FM 1798, please head to your shelter immediately if you haven't done that already. Hopefully, if you are and you can watch us on our CBS19 mobile app, you can follow us that way. We're also hopefully simulcasting with our radio partners, and you can listen to them as we bring you this these updates, what we call wall-to-wall coverage. We're just covering everything until these storms are out of here, and we got to stay with them until they move on out of this area. Something to note about this type of setup, it's December, and December tornadoes across East Texas, somewhat rare. They do happen. The last one was back in 2019. There were a few tornadoes that moved across East Texas into western Louisiana. So it's not entirely out of the realm of possibility to have tornadoes in December. And that's the setup that we're seeing today. I mean, this is aided by some very strong winds aloft, very humid air. Last night wasn't so humid. Overnight, the humidity surged in here. Dew points are in the mid 60s. Remember that number, the higher that number it goes, the more humid it feels. For me and for what I learned back in college is anytime we had a dew point above 61, that was prime enough. That was enough fuel in the atmosphere for severe weather, if not tornadoes. And you're talking about that kind of moisture today, a little plus that, 66 the dew point. So that's really starting to climb up there, especially for December. Then you have a very cold, dry air mass that's moving and slamming into all that. And of course, that can create lift. It can get the air rising. It cools, it condenses into clouds, eventually thunderstorms, and then strong winds aloft at about 16 to 20,000 feet off the surface. Think of it as a vacuum cleaner. If you put a vacuum cleaner over something, you know how strong the vacuum can pull stuff out of the carpet, right? And if it's a stronger vacuum, the faster that air gets pulled up. Well, think of that going over the surface, so it's pulling the air up rapidly. Now, in this situation, we have air rapidly rising and strong air aloft, and then you have just a little bit of a different wind direction at the surface, and so that can create some twisting in the atmosphere. It looks like we have a new tornado warning just issued.
Yeah, so they decided to issue downstream of this tornado warning And this is until 3:30 Central Time, and this will continue to move off to the northeast at 35 miles per hour. So that means Beckville, you're now in the polygon. Please head straight to your safe spot. And this is going to make it into Beckville by 3:20, Grand Bluff by 3:31, Gill by 3:41, and about 3:48 for DeBerry.
All right, so let's zoom all the way down there to Pine Hill and look at that circulation again. We were monitoring the possibility of having some 100-mile-an-hour winds plus 100-mile-plus-an-hour winds inside that southwest of Pineville on that cell itself, and that would be East County Road 365. And I'm trying to give you as many county roads here if you live in Panola County or southwest of Pine Hill, just to kind of give you as specific of a location as possible on these cells. That's County Road 364. It's likely crossed over County Road 364 and now is east, headed right up 365 and FM 348 into Pineville. And this one looks like it's going to go right over Pineville. So we may, as it crosses over Pineville, see if we get any kind of debris signatures coming out of that cell. I haven't seen anything from the Weather Service to suggest that in terms of them monitoring with spotters, seeing anything other than some funnel clouds. And I'm sure there are going to be several reports of some ground scraping clouds, if not producing some sort of funnel at this time. So the Weather Service is saying that this looks like this cell is going to pass northwest of Carthage. All right, so now we have a tornado indicator showing up inside. So our inspector, our Titan indicator, our Titan inspector, now showing a tornado impact of 7.4. That's high. That's about as high as sometimes we'll see that in the spring. And typically when we see it that high, it usually coincides with some type of tornado. So we'll just say right now that this tornado warning is enough to create some very big concerns for Pine Hill. There it is. We'll widen that out, and we've already kind of inspected it and had a big impact on that. So maybe let's check out the debris signature or correlation coefficient. And yeah, so we're seeing some greens in here, so there might be some debris. Could be tree limbs, could be leaves, could be something very small, just being lofted as it crosses over Pine Hill. I don't see blues. Blues, typically when we see that, would tell us that we have some type of structure, some type of roofing material or wood in that. But there is that cell itself. It's telling us it's right here. This is going to be displaced just a little bit so it can show us probably where that circulation is. Let's go back to reflectivity and see if we can get any there. Oh, yeah. Okay. So there we go. So yeah, the reflectivity certainly coincides with what we've got here. So we likely have a tornado here southwest of Pine Hill, northeast of Brockfield. This becomes now a very serious situation with a hook signature like that. Hopefully we're watching and able to get you into a safe spot before this thing hit in Pineville. So I think it's hitting in Pineville. We'll go back to velocity and check out the winds inside, but I'm pretty sure it's pretty strong. You could tell Chandler was showing you the winds being drawn into the storm and then the circulation and the rear flank downdraft coming around that storm.
And you can almost see it in the velocity product too.
Yeah. All right, so we'll turn, yeah, look at that. So what we'll do is we'll turn off the tornado warning. Remember, we have a tornado warning for Panola and Rusk County till 3:30, and now we're going to sample those wind speeds inside. Earlier, we were getting 100 mile an hour plus winds, and so we'll see what we can pick up inside there. But that certainly was really indicative near County Road 365 of a potential tornado, at least in what we call reflectivity mode. And reflectivity mode with a hook echo like that, a tornadic vortex signature, when we have a TVS like that.
Go. That's why.
Oh, yeah, it jumped away. Yeah, the scan kind of outplayed it. So it's going to be right in here near Highway 79. So gate-to-gate shear on that is about 80 miles an hour, and that's just a small sample of what's going on inside there. There could be other places where the wind. Check out again, back to the debris signature and see what this might be down. Yeah, this might have hit in Pine Hill and thrown some debris out in this direction. That looked a little interesting on velocity. Now let's go back to our reflectivity mode here, and not seeing much, but that doesn't mean that something didn't hit. And
yeah, maybe some inflow towards. Or trying to do the, we call it flying V. You can kind of tell that in your Holland quarters and Delray.
Right, yeah. I totally see that.
That's super impressive.
Yeah, total inflow coming into the storm there. and then of course it gets pulled into the storm, and then it gets
It would be
forced back
spit
down.
out east of Pine Hill. That makes sense.
Do you feel comfortable perhaps doing a slice on this with a volumetric and checking
let's
it
try
out?
it.
We'll give it a try. So what we're going to try to do is we're going to try to slice this storm in half here, and then we're going to turn it on its side and take a look at it 3D. That's going to pass northwest of Carthage. So this was the area. It moved right over Pine Hill, and might be able to tell us a little bit if there's any kind right in here. We might have had a bounded weak echo region kind of in that area. We didn't really look at that perhaps just in time to see that, but it does look like there might be that rear flank downdraft where the winds are sort of lighter here and stronger on the backside, and then all that rising air. Look how high that air is rising up, more than 30,000 feet into the storm. In fact, the tops of that storm probably close to 40,000 feet. So this is a big storm as it moves up toward Delray and out of Pine Hill right now. So pretty, yeah, you have to pick that back up on the camera angle.
Okay.
Yeah.
Get to it here.
There it is on the tilt. Yeah. That's the one thing it does, is it kind of leaves us a little bit off kilter for a second till we can get our bearings again. So Pine Hill, we had what looked like a TVS right there. And with the winds and that circulation being spotted right here, this looks like this might be a little bit of debris being lofted south of Highway 79. So we'll get our newsroom to call Panola County and see if there's any reports of any damage in that area. It looks like we're getting some new information coming out of the National Weather Service. They are canceling the tornado watch for Henderson and Van Zant County. So Henderson and Van Zant County, your threat of severe weather is over for the night. So that's certainly good news for the folks out in Henderson and or Athens. Let's see, what else are they saying? I'm not seeing anything else that they're talking about in this storm, particularly here in Panola County. Can we go back to reflectivity? Okay, we'll track it first and then go back to reflectivity. That storm moves northeast toward Elysian Fields at 350, Beckville 320, Grand Bluff 331, Panola at 357, and Scottsville at 401. So it's just about into Louisiana by 4 o'clock. And that cell, that'll probably move into Louisiana after 4 o'clock and then bring the threat. So there it is, still there with our TVS. And we've got perhaps like this bounded weak echo region right in here, and then the downdraft coming back, and the circulation, the tornado could be right somewhere near Pine Hill, or was, as it jumps out to the northeast. So that's a very concerning signature. Still haven't heard reports of any type of damage in that area. We sampled some winds that were 80 to 100 miles an hour with that cell at times.
Yeah, really haven't heard much of anything from the National Weather Service. I know there were spotters on it, but I think it's starting to get to the point, too, where it's a little more rural and harder for trackers to stay on it via roadway.
Yeah, and you got to consider also that, I mean, we're talking about like lots and lots of trees down in this area. It's a very hilly terrain, really tough to see to get spotters. If you were on 79, you'd lose it in the hills, or 315, you'd have to almost be on 315 right now looking back into that storm.
And this is a textbook supercell structure the more we look at it, especially with the inflow that we're seeing and what could be wrapping around the center of circulation.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it is. It is one of those circulations that when we show you what it's supposed to look like for a tornadic vortex signature, we would show you this picture, and that is right. Look at that.
Yeah, you know, the correlation coefficient certainly giving some signs that we have some debris that could be at least lofted and being thrown out of the storm, but we haven't really gotten anything from the National Weather Service. I'm sure they are trying their best to figure it out, as well as our spotters and spotter network that we've got across the region. And this is our latest look here at the velocity signature, storm relative velocity. And that just takes the motion out of the storm so we can kind of get a true, you know, more accurate, I guess you could call it, Brett.
Yeah. It's not looking at the movement of the storm. Sometimes when we show you true velocity, it's also taking into account the movement speed of the storm. So if we take that away, then what we can do is we can just zero in on the winds that are going toward the radar and away from the radar. Still a fairly respectable gate-to-gate shear at about 80 miles an hour. So we've seen stronger for sure, but this would be enough to create a tornado if it's on the ground. But again, no reports of that yet, but I would still not even, well, let's see, they're saying it's still north of Fairplay despite the presentation, not touching the ground. Impressive.
Yeah, that is very impressive, given that it's essentially textbook.
Yeah, exactly. But we saw that last week. Remember back in Sabine and San Augustine County, we had a cell that was moving through that same and looked very much the same, even though it looked textbook, and all it did was produce some very
Yeah, look at
strong
that.
winds. Yeah, I mean, this is what we're going to look for. See, we should be able to slice this. We should be able to see something more on that. This is likely the hail core right in here up toward Delray. So there's hail here. Then we get into the hail-free zone, and there may even be a spot like right in here where there's absolutely nothing, and we would call that the bear's cage. You don't want to drive into the bear's cage, but there's the part where if you're a storm chaser, you think that you can shoot the slot right between the storm, and that's the most dangerous thing to ever try. It looks like, because there could be almost like clear sky right in here where you're not seeing much, and you think you can get to the other side of the storm, but the tornado is right in here, and so that's so dangerous from that respect. I mean, what we're looking at here is likely this huge anvil climbing out all the way to here. And then you've got it's just going to look, and then the wall cloud lowering is going to be right in here, and that tornado and that hail-free zone is going to be right in here, or even the rain-free zone back to that rain, and then that circulation spins up here. And right here, sometimes we'll have the debris ball, if there was a debris ball associated with that. It doesn't look like that right now, but if the tornado's there, it's wrapping somewhere right in there.
That's a new scan, and
now
it completely fell apart.
Yeah, it just completely fell apart. Interesting. All right. Okay, a few updates here coming into us from Rusk County. Emergency management. Okay, so Rusk County seeing emergency management, seeing wall clouds and funnels, but nothing touching down at this point. So certainly a lot of scary looking clouds out there, even funnels. Remember, they have to touch the ground to be a tornado, so maybe several reports of funnels, but nothing that we're seeing in terms of making it to the ground. And they're following a funnel cloud toward Mount Enterprise, and that is going to be Rusk County Emergency Management?
Yes.
Okay. Also, I'm reading some other spotter information. Someone toward Carthage is on the front flank of the supercell coming toward Carthage, so they'd be able to give us an idea of what's going on. All right, Lanesville ISD, Henderson ISD have taken shelter. So if you're watching and wondering about the kids in school, they are sheltered and in place and safe right now away from the storm. In fact, the storm has crossed and passed away from Henderson at this time. Chandler, let's widen back out and put this all into reflectivity and kind of give us an idea. It looks like that's trying to tighten up again. There's other cells back here toward Tyler, back toward Jacksonville, but I'm wondering where the location of the cold front is, because if we can get the cold front through here, essentially what will happen is these storms will elevate and the big time severe threat will go away. I mean, we could still have some strong gusty winds, but the tornadic threat should be lessened if we can get the front. So the front right now looks like it's at Tyler. So I would say the front is right back here into northern Anderson County, northwestern parts of Smith County and Camp County. So if you live up in Lindale, if you are up in Mineola, you are clear for the rest of the night, okay? We'll just give you that clearance right now.
Probably somewhere along
right in
this
here.
area.
So Chandler's drawing in right where the front would be. So Gilmer, likely clear for the night. All right, Tyler's just about there. Just a little bit of concern until we can get these cells to pass a little bit farther to the northeast. Back into, I think Crockett still has to watch these. Look at these cells down here that are moving to the northeast. Any one of these could move into Houston County and become troublesome. Look at all of these cells. I know it's December. I have a feeling that if this was May and we were talking about it being 85 or 90 degrees and a dew point of 70, these things would just be explosive supercells, and we would just have a horrendous tornado outbreak. As it is, perhaps we were helped out by cloud cover today, perhaps a little bit by the fact that we just don't have the true potential energy that we would have during the spring. Still, several tornado warnings on these cells, and this one right here moving through Nacogdoches is probably going to try to curl up here as it moves into southern Rusk County, northwestern parts of Shelby County, up into Harrison County. All right, we've got anchor David Lippman over at the anchor desk, and he's got some video to share with us. David, what are you seeing?
Brett, as this storm is finally starting to shift to the east, we're getting some of our first footage out of Gregg County. This is from the Gregg County Airport. This video here was taken by Chief Deputy Craig Harrington of the Gregg County Sheriff's Office while he was up on top of the roof of the airport. And you can see in the distance there, that was a funnel cloud that passed over in Gregg County. Deputy Harrington told us that this did not touch down, but this is a pretty substantial looking funnel cloud. They had a good view of it there safely thank goodness, from the top of the airport.
Absolutely, and that is a great view. I mean, look at that. That is definitely a wall cloud with a funnel, nothing touching down. You can see the winds on the flag being drawn in toward the storm, so we're getting some inflow into the storm on that flag. This is a great telling picture here. You can look back how the clouds are lifted off the surface just a little bit, and then out ahead of that, I was talking about that sort of rain-free zone or hail-free zone ahead of that wall cloud. Boy, that's really a great picture, but a scary looking picture there coming to us from the Gregg County Sheriff's Office. All right, let's reset the table here as we get into our about 3:15 on this Tuesday afternoon, and this is the wide view of everything. We still have a tornado warning ongoing in Panola County. That is right now. I don't think there are any other warnings. There are no warnings back here into Smith County, into Anderson County, and back into Houston County, though we have to watch these cells. This is a severe warned storm in Nacogdoches. So what we'll do is we'll zoom in on the warned storm in Panola County, northwest of Carthage, and then we'll come down to the northern Nacogdoches storm and check that out. So this cell here, again, shows a textbook tornadic vortex signature. We've seen this several times, and most times when you see something like that, you've got a tornado on the ground. The fact that it's not occurring, and it looks like, boy, it looks like there's at least some wind blowing around, tree leaves or knocking down some branches somewhere. I'm not seeing much in the way of major structural debris being wafted into the sky, but that certainly looks like it. It could be. And then our circulation here is south of Beckville, west of Carthage, so it's right in here, and the tornado warning is going to go until 3:30. It makes you wonder if this won't get extended up till 4 o'clock, perhaps up into Harrison County and toward Crossroads and Elysian Fields. So the way it's moving here, and it's moving at about 40, 45 miles an hour, maybe 35 miles an hour. They have been clipping along. So Elysian Fields is 350. Scottsville is just after 4, and Wascom's at 4:07. So we've still got some time on that storm, about another hour as that takes to move out of eastern parts of Texas and then into western Louisiana up and toward the Arklatex. So again, this is several different times this afternoon. This has been the most impressive looking cell, and yet we have not had any reports of a tornado. Several reports of funnels near Brockfield, Laneville, Pine Hill, and into northwestern parts of Panola County. So that continues moving northeast. And again, from the Weather Service, they continue to watch it. Let's go back down to the Nacogdoches storm. It's a severe thunderstorm warned storm right there. But even at that, look at that. It's trying to tighten up on us near Douglas. So this might be one of those situations where we talk about when we have a severe thunderstorm warning, and sometimes we tell you to go to your shelter. This might be one of these indications here where you should go to your shelter on this storm. It's not tornado warned at this time, but still some strong winds are being indicated by our Titan impact indicator. We look inside this storm. It's sort of like a microscope into the storm. And so it shows us inside this storm, we're getting some very strong winds coming out of that. Maybe some hail, heavy rain for sure, and no doubt some lightning as this moves northeast at 39 miles an hour. We'll track this cell for you. Appleby right there is on the outside of that. Douglas is pretty much in the zone. Lilbert also in the zone. Up toward Garrison, over toward Dotson as this storm continues moving northeast. Again, 39 miles an hour. That severe thunderstorm warning goes until 3:30. That came out of Houston County with a tornado possible tag on that cell. So far, they have not reissued that part of the cell as it has remained a severe thunderstorm warning. But Mount Enterprise, I talked about how I thought some of us would see not one, maybe two rounds of thunderstorms this afternoon, and could possibly be under as many as 2 warnings. And I think that's the case here. Dotson, 4 o'clock, Pine Hill, 4:05. So if it makes it up till Pine Hill, that's going to be your second warning of the afternoon on cells that are just continuing to move from the southwest to the northeast. And here's Laneville trying to curl up a little bit, and west of Laneville. So,
and we've got a tornado warning coming in on this cell, and actually the last scan shows we got some better circulation.
Okay. So that was the cell. We looked at that and we thought that it was not tornado warned. Now it is. So we're going to have a tornado warning on this cell in Nacogdoches County till 3:30 till 4 o'clock. So this is brand new information coming to you. National Weather Service now issuing a tornado warning for Nacogdoches and Rusk County until 4 o'clock. If you live in Central Heights, if you live in Cairo, you want to go to your innermost room of your house. It's time to take shelter. Central Heights, if you live along 259, if you live along FM 698, you want to take shelter right now. FM 343, also, you want to take shelter. This thing is right overhead, and it is gaining strength as we speak. Douglas, you're okay. Looneyville, okay. Bonita Junction, keep an eye on it. The tornado warning is very close to your area as this moves up to the northeast. Again, this is for Nacogdoches County and for Rusk County until 4 p.m. So we'll track this. We'll put a track on it as it moves to the northeast, and it's moving rapidly and gaining strength. If we go back to reflectivity, at some point we may find ourselves with another TVS, or at least trying to spin up a TVS right in this area. So here's the track on this storm as it moves out to the northeast at roughly 40 miles an hour. So it's headed for Central Heights at 325. That's in about 9 minutes. So if you live in Central Heights and you're watching, you have 9 minutes to get into your shelter. At Garrison, 346, Caledonia, 351, Timpson, 358. So we're warning you way in advance, almost an hour in advance at Tenaha, where this storm, if it holds together, could continue to move up in that direction. I wouldn't see any reason why it couldn't. These cells are moving into some really untapped energy, or energy that is still, there's some very strong winds aloft down here. There was 2 areas of very strong winds today, one over north central Texas, and there were a lot of tornado warnings and tornado damage out in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And then over into northeast Texas, those stronger winds aloft moved in that direction. And then over deep East Texas was the second area of perhaps some slightly weaker winds, but still sufficient enough to cause or create twisting in the atmosphere and create tornado warnings. And so that's where these cells are now moving into that environment that would be conducive for some turning and twisting in the atmosphere and some what we call shear. Could either be speed shear or direction shear, or change of wind direction or wind speeds as you go higher up into the atmosphere. So that's what we're seeing in these cells here. And there's another new cell down here to the southeast of that cell. It looks like we have another new severe thunderstorm warning on that cell. Remember, we pointed that out, and that one might be trying toward Lufkin, trying to also go tornadic.
Yeah, thankfully, though, no tornado possible tag on this one, just radar indicated winds upwards of 60 miles per hour. Radar indicated hail size is up to quarters as well. There was a separate spotter who said he had a very large lowering to his southwest with scud being ingested rather quickly, which pretty much means there's the same particular storm we were looking at to the north and west, which is what feels like it's been trying to drop for hours now.
So this cell right here?
Yes.
So the spotter saw a lot of scud?
Yeah, a lot of scud and something trying to lower.
Oh, okay. So in other words, scud is, so it looks like you've got little lowerings, but what you're seeing is some fast rising air, warm, moist air, rising quickly up to the base of that cloud, and that base of that cloud could contain some colder air, and so you get instant condensation out of that, and so it appears that you might have a tornado trying to form, but again, it's not. It's a harmless scud cloud. See a lot of that often in times. We see this here toward Beckville and Carthage. It does look like that storm's going to stay to the northwest of Carthage as predicted. So in Carthage, I think you're okay. This storm looks like it is now passing far enough to your northwest that it's not going to make a hard right-hand turn. Storms just don't do that, especially the way these winds are, as fast as these are moving. But you can see that circulation is tightening up there just between Beckville and Carthage. That's headed toward Grand Bluff and then eventually over into Louisiana. So this warning goes for about another 11 minutes. This may be allowed to expire as it moves up to the northeast, or it'll be continued into the Shreveport-Bossier area within the next hour or so. So Elysian Fields is still in the path of that at 3:48, and Bethany at 4 o'clock, Wascom about 4:06. So that would be right on the Louisiana border here at 4:06. So that cell, most concerning right now, at least for the areas over in Panola County. We do have another tornado warning down in Nacogdoches County, and we can look at that right there. That looks like that's gotten tighter. Chandler, if you want to leave this on, I'll talk about this for a while. If you want to maybe get the Nacogdoches camera up and look at that and see what we're seeing on the Nacogdoches, because we would be looking to the northwest, and our camera is essentially pointed kind of in that direction. One of our best views from this camera, it looks back out in that area. So that was on the campus of Stephen F. Austin State University. So it would give us a good view into that storm as it's starting to move again from the southwest to the northeast, and it's headed really up toward Panola County again. So that has roughly 40 minutes on this cell. There's Highway 59, and that's going to cross over 59. And Appleby is on the edge of this cell. So if you live in Appleby, I want you to go to your shelter right now and stay in Appleby, stay in your shelter until that storm passes. That might take about a half hour, but a half hour to survive a storm, if it were to produce something, would be well worth your time. So that cell will lift and move across that area, and then that'll continue to push east. So the green that we're seeing here, that's coming back toward Shreveport, and the red is going away. So it looks like it's strengthening with some winds, maybe blowing out, gusting out this way. Could be some straight line winds here. It doesn't look like it's a super impressive circulation, but it has tightened up just enough. It's tightened up just enough that the Weather Service decided to issue a tornado warning on that cell. And then in addition, we have the tornado or the severe thunderstorm warning down to the south that does include the city of Nacogdoches on the northwestern corner. So let's see, I'm trying to read from National Weather Service. I'm just going to read what we're seeing here in the chat room, and this is from National Weather Service's Aaron Davis. He's like, a real quick mesoradar update. We may be getting that string of pearls scenario that high-res guidance has been hinting at going on today. This wouldn't automatically translate into widespread tornadoes producers, but it wouldn't hurt tornado chances either. All right, so I'll widen out. I'll show you what we mean by that string of pearls. I showed you that earlier when we had the wide view of our reflectivity, and we had a bunch of cells down here in deep East Texas coming out of central Texas. We'll flip that over. You can just see all of these little cells that are just racing up here to the north. When we put them into motion, you'll really be able to see what we're talking about. And one of the reasons it's called string of pearls is because it looks like there's little pearls all the way down the string. So put that into motion and watch this. So you can just see these right here. 1, 2, there's a third one. That one's moved up into Nacogdoches. There's 1, 2, 3. Yeah, it's a little concerning. I'm certainly hoping these don't suddenly become tornado producers, but if you live in Shelby County, Nacogdoches County, Angelina County, and Sabine and San Augustine County, and so far you've avoided the worst of it today, for about the next 4 hours, it's time to really be on guard for these. And I'm not laughing at it in a comical way. I'm just kind of like, wow, we are seeing something here that is absolutely, again, if it was May, it could be just an absolute outbreak. Maybe the fact that it's December saves us a little bit. But yeah, these would all be supercells if they were moving northeast in a springtime scenario. And 1 or 2 of these could still become a supercell here late this afternoon. So these are dangerous.
And you know, our best friend today is going to be the cold front itself, because once it catches up, it'll almost kind of choke off the strongest development of thunderstorms.
And that cold front now we think has moved. It looks like it's right on top of Tyler.
Yeah.
Down
right.
to about
Okay,
Jacksonville.
there we go. It looks like it's right about here because the storm's right along, and behind it are more of eastward than a northeastward trajectory.
And elevated so that they're not getting to the surface. Yeah. So if this front can undercut these cells, and remember, the front's going to move. These could be moving into the front, and so the front will undercut those and weaken those a little bit farther to the north. But again, if I had to draw perhaps my own polygon into what could be the worst case scenario in terms of more tornado warnings, it would be from Lufkin over to Hemp Hill, then down here to Lake Charles, and then westward back, and then up to Crockett again. So it would be in this little box here, this quadrant of the area still to go. That's a severe thunderstorm warning. And that goes for Angelina County. But again, in Angelina County, that one looks like it's trying to turn just the ever slightest little bit. So again, it doesn't mean because we see those string of pearls, it doesn't mean that we are going to have there are not going to be tornado warnings on all of those cells, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to help the situation either. So those bear worth watching, and that's why we were talking about on the noon show about how we could have more than one tornado warning in your own county. Sometimes we have a tornado warning and then you're clear for the rest of the day. That's not the case here today. All right, we're back on this cell here, Nacogdoches County, moving into, that's still in Nacogdoches County, northern Nacogdoches County, west of Appleby, and there's your circulation. Anything from the camera shot?
Oh, yeah, that's what I was going to say. Can we take the Nacogdoches camera, please?
Oh, there it is. Okay. So, well, it certainly looks,
over.
yeah, I mean, you're certainly looking at some ground scrubbing clouds here, especially right in here. And we're looking back to the north and to the northwest from our Nacogdoches camera on the campus of Stephen F. Austin State University. So nothing super concerning there, but I mean, aside from the very low clouds that just look like they're just rubbing the ground and just that kind of scary look there. But we'll call those scary looking clouds for right now until we get something better that would pop up on that.
Yeah, looking off in the distance, it's, yeah, like you had mentioned, we don't like when we see the clouds this close to the ground and some lightning off in the distance there as well.
Yeah, again, that's going to be our Stephen F. Austin State University camera at looking at off to the north and to the northwest. And there's a spotter out there near Central Heights looking north on 259. Lots of inflow. Wall cloud looks to be crossing 259 now. So that's going to be in northern Nacogdoches County, somewhere in here. That could be far enough away where we just can't simply see into that. I mean, look how low those clouds are to the surface. I mean, you just get obscured in the vision. So, you know, it's hard to see what's on the other side of that hill. All right, let's go back to the radar, and there it is again. Here's Nacogdoches. This is essentially what we were looking at on our camera west of Appleby with this tornado-warned storm that goes until 4 o'clock. The bright green area versus the bright red, anytime we see that side by side, we're a little bit concerned. If we're going to have a true circulation that could tighten up into a tornado, we want to see this a little bit tighter. This is kind of wide right now. It might be several miles wide. And because it's several miles wide, it's just a broad rotation in the clouds. And sometimes clouds can spin by and they can turn and you can watch the cloud direction change. But unless that becomes faster and faster, think of a figure skater. A figure skater can have their arms wide or out wide and they'll turn slowly. And then as they tighten up, they increase their speed as their circulation tightens up, their speed and their rotation becomes faster and faster. And so that's essentially what's going to happen there with this storm as it moves toward Garrison. Garrison, right now, you are in the path of the storm, so we want you to be, of course, in your shelter. This is going to be the southern portion here of Rusk County. So it's southeastern Rusk County. Henderson is not in the tornado-warned portion of the storm. Garrison is. There's a severe thunderstorm warning that was issued here. Douglas, Lilbert, and Cushing, you're okay right now. The cell that was initially warned for you back here has moved into the eastern part of that severe thunderstorm warning. And then just to the south of that, toward the city of Nacogdoches, down on this yellow boxed area here, toward Woden and Davisville, this is another severe thunderstorm warning. And we'll go down a little bit farther on that so we can see the source of that. I don't see anything right there. This is coming out of Lufkin. That cell looked a little better on reflectivity, doesn't look as impressive on velocity. This might be the area that we're watching just to the northwest side of Lufkin right now, and that looks like this is moving also north and eastward. So this will move up toward Nacogdoches, keeping an eye on that cell, down toward Diboll. I think it's okay there. Zavala, okay. Grigsby, not in any type of warning right now. Broadus, and as we look down through the Sam Rayburn, I think we're okay on the lake down there right now. Toledo Bend, the cell that was there has left Toledo Bend. Up here toward Nacogdoches, this would be the most concerning one right now that's moving out of Rusk into Nacogdoches County, northern, or I should say out of Nacogdoches County into southeastern Rusk County. So, but again, we haven't had any reports of any tornadoes on the ground, so we continue to be, I guess, somewhat fortunate here in that fact that we've had lots of scary looking clouds, but not anything that's been on the ground yet, Chandler.
Yeah, thankfully that's been the case, and you know we still got to stay weather aware and vigilant as we continue to get these cells that have been tapping into this rich environment that we've been talking about really for the past 7 days. You know, we've been looking at this since this time last week just about, and you know, very impressive that we've gotten such a lead time that we would have an event like we have had so far today. and certainly far from over. So this particular, what was that?
Oh, it looks like we have new tornado warning coming to us for Harrison and Panola counties.
Oh yeah, they extended that cell up towards, I'll get back up there.
Oh, the one that was up by Carthage?
Yeah,
Okay, so
this
we
is a new
expected that.
warning. Yeah.
All right, so we expected that, but we haven't had any, we've had several moments where we've been very concerned about this cell. But for right now, this is up to Elysian Fields. We thought about 350 this afternoon. There it is. It still looks really impressive near DeBerry. And that'll move across and over into Panola County by 4 o'clock. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of ragged. That circulation doesn't look all that well defined, and then it goes away. So it's there, and is that the single site?
I'm toggling. This would be nearest site. This
Nearest
is from
site.
Shreveport's site,
Okay.
which is only 60, 70 miles.
Yeah,
from
so
here.
usually they have a pretty good view from that vantage point. It's not here, it's looking a lot lower into the storm instead of several thousand feet up. It may just be a couple of thousand feet off the ground.
Got a report, Brett. Emergency manager says possible debris in the air with an axe storm, and that was reported by a Rusk County emergency manager.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
And that's going to be, they just said they had a brief rope funnel about 5 miles northwest of Carthage.
That
So
was
on
a
this
storm earlier.
This is this one right here. This is the one that might have some
This is the
debris?
possible debris up in the air.
All right, let's look at that. Yeah, certainly so. I mean, we've got little areas where there's some greens and almost blue showing up within, so there might be some debris. We might have had a brief touchdown. So if it touches down for a moment, a couple of minutes, and turns up some trees, it's going to lift those trees and those limbs and those branches into the air. If it did hit a structure, sometimes we'll see darker blue. We're seeing a little light blue there. So that would be a little concerning. It looks like it's spreaded out. So it may have, let's go back to maybe cycle through like reflectivity and back to velocity. So that's our reflectivity area, and this would be, again, indicative of an inflow notch here. The wind's coming down, the circulation pulling in wind from this direction, forcing wind down from this direction, and then spinning right in that area. So it would correlate. So there's your second one. Now we'll go back to correlation and see if this correlates all together. Should be, yeah, so it's all right in there. So there might be something that's hit the ground down in parts of northern Nacogdoches County, and again, northwest of Appleby. Maybe we can go back to reflectivity and zoom in on that area and see if there's any smaller towns that we should be warning folks about and giving you. So maybe County Road 153 and FM. There's Lynn Flat Road. Here's Fitzy. There's 59. So it looks like it's going to be sort of a rural area between Arlem and Fitzy. Just to the northwest, I believe that's Farm Road. I can't, maybe
Farm Road 1037.
1037. 1087. All right, so Farm Road 1087. So that's going to cross 153, FM 1087, and then up toward Lynn Flat Road and toward Garrison. So Arlem, Garrison, Fitzy right here would be this. If this is creating debris and it has a small tornado that might be, could be roping out, and it could be touching down and then roping back out and moving across the countryside down in that area. So it could be just kind of hopping and skipping as it moves along, and we may find ourselves with some small tornadoes. But again, sometimes we don't like that term small tornado because no tornado that does damage is considered small. But what I mean is it's not, of EF3 or EF4 status, and it could be very small, thin rope size where it does touch down and it lifts back up. Storm spotters are trying to get on some of these storms. There is one headed toward that storm, but they were about 20 minutes away. So that'll be a little bit before we can get a definite confirmation on what's going on within that storm. So this is just radar estimated at this time. Little hail core up here. That's indicative of what we would look for if we're going to have some stronger downburst winds or rear flank downdraft winds off the storm system itself, and the inflow notch right there. So Appleby, you're just outside of the polygon. The storm is passing to your northwest. I think you're okay. It looks like Cushing is certainly okay as that storm is well off to your east. All right, so Chandler, we got another, or this is coming from?
That's for Arkansas.
That's from Arkansas. There are a lot of warnings out there, for sure.
Yeah, there are. And, we're continuing to see thunderstorms tap into this environment. It looks like if we zoom back out, we've got 3 active warnings in our viewing area, one of which is a severe thunderstorm warning. You can see that in effect throughout parts of Nacogdoches and Angelina counties. And we've got 2 separate tornado warnings that are currently in effect, one of which we will soon be able to not have to worry about as far as impacts to our viewing area, and it's going to be this particular cell in effect for parts of Harrison and Panola counties. And let's go ahead and go back down, move a little farther to the south and west, and we're going to get a live picture from Cushing, and that'll be compared and paired up with this particular cell that we're looking at. So, you know, it's funny, Brett, because, well, not funny, but this is looking east from Cushing, but we've actually, you know, these cells have looked very impressive on radar, and we haven't had any confirmed tornadoes so far today. I mean, even this Nacogdoches cell, or north of Nacogdoches near Garrison and Appleby, looks relatively impressive on radar.
On radar, right, but then when you look at it from a spotter point of view, yeah, it looks like it's at least somewhat elevated off the ground over there, and now they're kind of panning the camera over back into the area where we're not, some lower clouds to that side looks kind of dark.
Would we be able to get back to the view looking east from Cushing and maybe zoom in a little bit off in the distance where we first had the shot there?
Yeah, if they could pan back over to the left a little bit, that'd be great. And then we want to zoom in just a little bit over top of that, looks like an awning or those buildings or that flagpole, and stay closer to the surface. So kind of pan down closer to the surface. So, all right, so I'm not seeing anything there. Maybe pan a little bit farther to the left. Chandler, you got any other thoughts on that? I don't really see anything.
Yeah, it's hard to tell, and I think at least with what we're seeing on the west side of this cell is that, you know, it's quite a bit of rain in there.
Yeah, I think so. Again, that would probably be if we were looking at that darker part of the cloud when Alan Casper was panning back to the right. We're looking at some very dark clouds. He's looking to the east here, I believe, right here.
Yeah.
So if he was panning, I'm not sure if he's panning back to the west, then he's probably looking back into that darker portion. All right, so now it just jumped ahead, and again, I mean, this looks like an impressive tornadic vortex signature, and again, the velocity is right there west of Garrison. Our guys were over here looking this way toward the storm, and there it is. I mean, it's showing. Maybe let's just try to like sample some of this. See, there might be a little bit of debris in there toward Garrison. So there might be some lofted debris in the sky. I mean, we could try to maybe cut this in half and see where that would be. I think we can cut that and show you perhaps. So sometimes we can see the debris being lofted up into the thunderstorm. You know, up to 20,000 feet. That looked like a little bit of debris there, and that correlated with where the velocity was, and also on this motion here. See, it just doesn't look, it just looks like there's a lot of updraft energy. Oh, there's a nice little, like, the off the backside, maybe this little tail cloud going on into that storm. Yeah, maybe if we could pan around a little bit, just kind of looking inside that. But this is, you know, 40,000 foot tops, and it's December, remember that. So there's like a little bit of hail here. And then there's probably winds descending back down here on the western part of the storm. But right in there, can you pull that forward a little bit? I think we're sliced back on the northern part of the storm. You should be able to just grab this part and pull it kind of forward. And as it does, then we might be able to see this kind of shoot up a little bit. And as it does, that would give us a little bit. See, this is interesting. Sometimes you'll see thunderstorms. You'll see the tail end cloud coming back in from this side, and then the other inflow cloud coming into this side. So if you're looking at the thunderstorm, you've got this low bank of clouds coming in here, then the updraft going in, so the inflow is coming in here. Back here, the wind is descending, and it's not really a shelf cloud, but it looks like the anvil. It would really be a well-defined cloud that has a nice structure back here. And then right in here, if we were going to have anything, it's likely going to be right in here where there could be that tornado. So we can clear that out. That's toward Garrison right now, and then that Garrison storm is moving north and eastward. This is looking at it from the west and now back to the south and looking right in the storm. So what we saw earlier.
Brett,
yeah.
We've got some indications. Brandon at the National Weather Service, he's looking at a TDS on the Panola County storm, going to upgrade the warning to radar confirmed. And we've got a media partner, his name's also Brett, he says large tornado on the Panola storm. On the
Panola storm. So,
which is going to be this one. That's now got the new warning on it until 4:15. large wedge just north of DeBerry from my location. That might actually be farther to the north, right?
So that's it. So that's the storm.
This is right.
Yeah, we're right on that storm because DeBerry was right in that area. Or is he looking at here?
I think we've got two separate reports here. One large tornado on the Panola storm, the other large wedge just north of DeBerry from my location, and that's from a fire department.
Okay, so zoom in on between Flat Fork and Timpson, and then we'll scan back toward Garrison. We were on DeBerry earlier. Let's go even tighter. You got to go pretty tight to see that. This is the one that I'd have more concern of with the Garrison storm. So I'm going to have to do a little inspection here just for a second. So they're saying that tornado damage threat, considerable hail. Oh, that's for Caddo, Harrison, and Panola County. So large confirmed dangerous tornado located over Elysian Fields or southeast of Marshall, moving northeast at 45 miles an hour. All right, so that was the one that we were on and looking at very carefully.
Right here.
So right there. So yeah, that's tightened up impressively. That has really gotten strong. And there is some debris with that one at this time. So that's Elysian Fields. That's headed toward Wascom, and that has now become a tornado of significance out across the area. So that tornado warning will continue, and that's going to go until 4 p.m. for Harrison and Panola counties. That's probably going to get extended here. We got about 20 minutes to go on that. So that is a dangerous tornado that the National Weather Service is saying is confirmed, and it's large. And again, we're not seeing some damage from that one spotter. But let me go back. I'm just looking at all sorts of fields here. You're looking at the radar of this large. There it is. DeBerry was just to the west of Elysian Fields. All right, so that's where they were talking about it, just to the southwest of Elysian Fields.
Yeah,
so
and about time they dropped something,
yeah,
considering how it looked.
Yeah, it had. They were sort of like saying that this is moving up to the northeastern weekend, and the concern was back down to the storm that was closer to over Nacogdoches County, which then looked more well defined, and then this thing just suddenly erupted and spun up. So let's go tighter onto this area here where you can see that very strong and perhaps large tornado toward DeBerry, just to the northwest of DeBerry, right in here. That's where the tornado is. We go to our correlation coefficient. We should be able to see debris within that storm itself. There it is. And then upstream towards up here, we're likely getting some greens and blues. Yeah, so it's looks like it's lofted some damage up toward Panola, northwest of Panola toward Elysian Fields. So, okay, I'm just kind of scrolling through Twitter to see if there's any kind of updates from any spotters in the fields and any pictures of that nature. So again, Elysian Fields, DeBerry, we have a large confirmed tornado in this area with some debris signatures also showing up. We'll go back to reflectivity, and on reflectivity we'll be able to show you the storm itself is here that we're concerned about right in there. But there's another portion of the storm just to the west of that also has some concern that we were watching very carefully back down here toward Beckville and Grand Bluff. But it's right in here with this cell that has the tornado that has been confirmed now on it, right there toward Elysian Fields and south and west of Elysian Fields. So if you live in Elysian Fields, we need you to be in your shelter. In Bethany, in your shelter. DeBerry, also in your shelter as this moves to the north and to the northeast, up toward Greenwood, up toward Wascom, eventually over into the Shreveport, Bossier area. Caddo Parish is also included in that, but Harrison and Panola counties within the next 17 minutes in this tornado-warned storm. And it's moving at about 45 miles an hour. All of these storms have been screaming along at a very fast speed here this afternoon. All right, so that's that tornado warning for again, Harrison and Panola counties. And it's really, if we're going to look at Panola County, I think it's going to be the northern half of Panola and the southeastern portion of Harrison County. So it's not the entire Harrison County area and not entirely in Panola County. For instance, the city of Carthage is not included in this warning. Bethany is, Elysian Fields and DeBerry. There's 79, there's 59 coming out of Marshall down to the south, and this continues working its way eastward. Let's go back to there's velocity. It's right in Elysian Fields right now. So it is right, wow. You want to sample that and see what we're getting in terms of winds?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we're looking at a very strong tornado. And again, today was one of these days where the Storm Prediction Center warned of the potential for strong tornadoes in excess of EF2, meaning we could have stronger winds than 160 or 157 miles an hour. Not too bad right there, that gate-to-gate shear at near 70 miles an hour. So that's what we're sampling inside. So, but still, that's a tighter circulation than we've seen all day. So there could be a tornado easily within that, especially here, and this could be where the debris is being thrown around right over Elysian Fields right now. So Elysian Fields, we need you to be in your shelter. It looks like it's widened out just a little bit on this last scan. Perhaps it tightened up, may tighten back up as it moves to the east here and moves up to the northeast. So we have that tornado warning ongoing for about the next 15 minutes. Crossroads is going to be just to the northwest of that storm. We think you're okay. Gill, you should be fine. Grand Bluff, you can probably see the backside of that storm. And DeBerry, you're looking straight up. Likely what you're seeing is the very low, you may even be seeing the tornado if it's on the ground right now, and then you see the clearing out ahead of it. So you probably see some sunshine, then you see the very dark clouds, and then the tornado, and then behind it, it gets a little better. So Elysian Fields currently under the tornado right now, and the Weather Service is saying a tornado damage threat with considerable hail, and that is going to be a confirmed large, extremely dangerous tornado located near Wascom or 17 miles west of Shreveport. That's moving northeast at 45 miles an hour. And so they've had multiple reports of a large tornado on the ground near DeBerry. So we will work to get some video of that in parts of Panola County or southern parts of, I believe that would be northern Panola County, maybe just southern Harrison County near Elysian Fields. There's likely a lot of folks who were able to see this, especially since it's daylight, and it may be a very visible storm since we didn't see a ton of rain with it. So it might be one of those more visible ones that you can see, and certainly that helps to track. And because you can see it and the confirmation is there, then the warning can be perhaps given a little more seriousness in the fact that they are saying considerable damage with this storm. We're already seeing some reports of damage being lofted into the air near Elysian Fields, and this will continue moving northeast here at about 45 miles an hour. So once it moves out of Elysian Fields, then within minutes it will move over into the Louisiana side, and that threat will end. It was near DeBerry, but it looks like it's kind of moved more so. If it was near DeBerry, it moved a little bit farther to the north, perhaps lifting almost north to northeast. So we'll wait and see where it goes. The polygon would suggest that it's headed up in this direction, but the direction of where it was to where it went would suggest that perhaps it's crossing or be coming closer to Interstate 20, more to the northwest of Bethany and west of Greenwood. So I'll need to watch this very carefully as it continues moving northeastward out of that area. Again, that tornado warning goes until 4 o'clock, so it's only about 13 more minutes before that warning is allowed to expire. We're waiting on a new return, or new, as the beam makes another pass over that area, we'll get a new piece of data that will come in, and then that will update where the storm has jumped to within the next couple of minutes. So it's moving, and the fact that these storms are moving at 45 miles an hour in between radar scans, you know, these things are covering quite a bit of ground. We've seen spots where we've been tracking a storm on one part of the map, and then within a few minutes, it jumps several miles to the east. That's because they're moving to the northeast at 45 miles an hour. So that's why these things need to be taken very seriously when we've been issuing these tornado warnings. And there's always that word of respecting the polygon. We'll come back down here on these cells, and you can still see, again, you can't leave these alone just because of what we saw up toward Elysian Fields. Even though these right now are looser circulations, and there have not been any confirmed reports of any type of tornadoes. If you live in Timpson, you want to get to your safe space right now. So if you're in Timpson, go to your safe space, and you have to remember what your safe space is. Your safe spot or your shelter is going to be that most interior room, lower portion of your house. If it's the first floor and there are no windows and it's a bathroom on the first floor, if it's a closet on the first floor, that's where you want to go. If you happen to live on a second floor, an apartment, perhaps even a third floor apartment, if you can get down to a lower level and shelter, do that. If there is a clubhouse that's open for sheltering, you need to go and do that right now. If you're in Timpson, you don't want to wait. If you live in a manufactured or mobile home and you can get to your shelter, to a safer shelter relatively quickly, meaning within the next 5 to 10 minutes, you would do that right now.
We got a brand new tornado warning just to the south and west of here, and this is going to be running until 4:30 for Angelina, Nacogdoches, and San Augustine counties. And the reason why this polygon's so big, Brandon at the National Weather Service, incorporating 3 different supercells in the area within this particular. This is one here near just to the west of Woden. Just to the southwest of Sherino, that's number 2, and just to the south and southwest of Huntington is number 3. So 3 separate circulations that we're going to continue to monitor here, and we've got 3 separate, well, it's 1 tornado warning, but they drew the polygon so big to take into account for 3 separate circulations.
So we're likely accounting for this string of pearl effect down here to the south. All right, so 3 different cells, and they've warned all of those.
And I'm going to go ahead and turn our Nacogdoches camera to the south and southeast and see if we can get a better picture of what's going on down there.
I'm going to go back up here to our Elysian Field storm, but we have several tornado warnings right in this whole area here, so I may just kind of widen this thing out and walk everybody through these. And I'll go back to reflectivity and put this back into motion. I'll turn off the warnings so you can essentially see what we're going through here. All right, so what we've been tracking this afternoon are several cells, and this is really kind of played out, maybe worst case scenario here. The data indicated this would all be possible for some very strong supercells to develop out ahead of the cold front. The cold front came through earlier today out in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex area. We had some damage reported at Grapevine with a tornado there. There were several tornado warnings in and around DFW. One in Tarrant County also had a tornado warning, and those cells have moved since up into Oklahoma. There was a brief tornado warning in McCurtain County, Oklahoma. That was the first part of this storm that moved away. Now the front has cleared Tyler, so we're seeing the easterly wind so Tyler, I think we're in the clear for severe weather the rest of the night. Jacksonville, I think we're also in the clear. Gilmer, for the rest of the night, we should be good. Linden, up toward Jefferson. Okay, so the cold front's just about to undercut that storm that's near Elysian Fields right now. But it's that cell right there that has created, in fact, it's right here now. That little curl there, that's the tornado warned storm that has done some damage or at least been confirmed as a large damage causing tornado near Elysian Fields coming out of Panola County into Harrison County. And now we have several tornado warned storms. This one here coming out of Rusk County, that'll move up into Panola County, and then we come down from Angelina County through Nacogdoches County. There are 3 separate cells that are currently warned. Right now we don't have confirmed tornadoes on any of these cells, but because of their motion, their storm motion, their identity, I should say, kind of what they look like, any one of these could produce a tornado and produce a tornado quickly. These are all going to be moving out to the northeast at about 45 miles an hour. Palestine, I think you're okay in terms of severe weather for the rest of the night. Maybe not so much yet in Crockett, but we'll keep an eye on that for you. Henderson's still not out of the woods. Longview, it looks like the front is now just cutting through Longview. I'd give it another couple minutes, and then we'll be able to tell you that you are good for the rest of the evening. And that would certainly be welcome relief here if you can do that before 5 o'clock. All right, if you want to go back to velocities and zoom back in, Chandler, we'll talk about what we're seeing on all of these radars this afternoon.
Yeah, thankfully this storm up towards Shreveport finally about to exit the viewing area and move over into Shreveport and towards Shreveport, so we'll be able to be safe at least from this particular storm, which has the history of producing a large tornado, and to at least our knowledge, with what we've seen in the National Weather Service chat, likely still have a tornado on the ground. With this particular cell, it's only mere miles, though, from crossing over the border, and you can see this is where we've got the center of circulation. Here's a new warning that just came in, includes far eastern portions of Harrison County. The rest are the Bossier and Caddo parishes. And that's going to be a still observed tornado, damage threat considerable for this tornado warning in Bossier City, not Bossier. My apologies on that. But regardless, either way, it's going to be continuing to move off to the northeast, 45 miles per hour. And so shortly, we'll see this move off into Louisiana. A little farther to the south, we're still watching another area of circulation. This tornado warning throughout parts of Nacogdoches, Panola, Rusk, and Shelby counties is until 4:15. You can see that the center of circulation currently located just to the north of Timpson. And this particular tornado warned storm is going to continue to move off to the northeast as well, roughly at about 40 to 45 miles per hour. And we just got a severe thunderstorm warning, I think, unless that's filtering in something a little bit older. Oh,
No, that's a new
Houston.
warning.
Oh, that's for Chambers and Liberty.
We just had one, we had a tornado warning that was just extended for Harrison till 4:30. And then I thought there was a Trinity County till 4:15.
Gotcha.
I think that's the new one just down the line. We have several ongoing tornado warnings right now. We've had possibly one or two tornadoes. We'll wait and see. And we know of one for sure near Elysian Fields in northern Panola County. May have started in northern Panola County and then moved over into Harrison County near Elysian Fields. And that tornado warning for Harrison County continues till 4:30. So they've extended that one for another half hour. Meantime, the one in Nacogdoches and Rusk County, so it's essentially what we're looking at here. There's 3 different polygons right now. This one goes until 4 o'clock, so we'll wait and see. And then this one down here, it goes until, I believe, 4:30, and that is Angelina, Nacogdoches, and San Augustine. So one is the northern part of Nacogdoches County, one is the southern part of Nacogdoches County. You have several little spins coming up with supercells, discrete little supercells out ahead of the cold front. The environment in this area is spring-like in nature in terms of the amount of energy in the atmosphere, in terms of wind shear and instability. So those factors combined are adding up to produce these, and if they can get going, what we call discrete cells out ahead of the main cold front. And when they do this, they have the capability of rotating and then quickly causing a tornado. And it's one of the reasons that the Storm Prediction Center yesterday placed all of East Texas in an enhanced risk. So an enhanced risk means numerous severe thunderstorm warnings. We've certainly seen that. They also place a portion of deep East Texas and parts of East Texas in a hatched outlook, meaning that there was concern that we could have tornadoes that would be stronger than EF2 or stronger. So wind speeds 113 to 157 miles an hour or stronger than that. So far, we haven't seen anything like that yet, but this type of atmosphere is certainly conducive to that. Here's a new severe thunderstorm warning that is in Trinity County, no, just south of Trinity County, and the lines here, so there is tornado possible on this one north of West Livingston. So I believe that's Livingston County. That'll move into Angelina County eventually. So that cell will need to be watched carefully. There may be another tornado warning that is issued for Angelina County once these cells move out. So this is one of these types of situations where you could be under several tornado warnings for the rest of the afternoon. So if you're in your shelter, it might be best to just stay in your shelter for the next few hours if you can. The tornado watch was extended until 10 o'clock for San Augustine County, Sabine County, Shelby County, Nacogdoches County, Angelina County, Jasper, Newton County, and Tyler County down to the south. All right, we have some new information from the Harrison County Sheriff. Do you want me to? Large tornado near DeBerry, which we. Okay, so we have reports now coming in from near DeBerry in Harrison County from the Sheriff's Office of mobile homes damaged, fences down, cows running loose at FM 451 and FM 9. FM 31 near DeBerry. And so let's go over that again. So we know that we have a large tornado that did damage to mobile homes, knocked down some fences. There are cows running loose, and the roads again were FM 451, FM 9, and FM 31. So watch those roads. You got cows running out, and there may be some damage in those areas. You might want to avoid those areas best you can. Let emergency managers get to those areas and check to make sure that we don't have any injuries in that area. Again, that's going to be north of this in northern Panola County and up into southern Harrison County. So that's on that cell there that is now starting to move over into Bossier Parish. But that's the part of the cell that caused the warning earlier today, and that goes back into Harrison County. This is Panola County here, and the cells are moving on out of there. All right, so we go back to reflective. There's a very bright spot here in northwestern Panola County. That might be the cell that was moving away from Nacogdoches County back into Panola County. Currently, yeah, there's a couple of very bright, notable spots here on these cells. So we'll zoom in on this. Again, these are under tornado warnings, and that cell right there near Gary City and Tenaha just moved past Timpson. So Timpson, you're okay, but Tenaha and Gary City, you've got this Panola, Shelby County tornado warned storm till 4:15. So Highway 59, again, another storm crossing over Highway 59. Tenaha, we need you to be in your shelter. Gary City, we need you to be in your shelter. At Timpson, you're in the clear right now. Buncombe, you're also in the clear. Dotson and Caledonia, you're in the clear for the time being. Again, we have to keep watching downstream as these cells continue to move from the southwest to the northeast. So this would be a radar indicated tornado, nothing confirmed on the ground yet, but as we've learned from the cells that have moved up toward parts of northern Panola County, southern Harrison County, if they move into just a slightly more conducive environment, they could spin up and get a little bit stronger, and then we'd have a tornado on the ground and we could have some damage. So we've been watching several of these cells for that type of motion, that relative motion that they've been moving, and that relative sort of strength as to what they could do as they continue moving to the north, to the northeast. Again, this is a tornado warned storm for Panola, Shelby County. That goes until 4:15. This will move to the northeast at 40 miles an hour, so that's up toward Gary City at 4:07. That'll move over toward Long Street eventually by 4:30, and then it should move toward Interstate 49 into Louisiana shortly after that. So up toward Stonewall by 4:53. So those will be out of East Texas certainly by 4:30 as it moves into Long Street. So there's the state line. These will move across the state line. And then they'll be out of East Texas. But this storm, again, is of particular concern just because of that bright red against that bright green. And these warnings have been continuing like this all afternoon. Again, that's moving to the northeast at about 40 miles an hour. Wish I had more details for you on this. There have been several spotters out in the fields today. They've seen several funnels. There's only been one confirmed large tornado. That was the one near Elysian Fields. And as we reported, there may be some damage out of that, or there was damage reported near Elysian Fields and DeBerry. So between DeBerry and Elysian Fields, it looks like we've had some mobile homes hit by tornadoes and some fences knocked down and some cows that are running out. This is a very strong storm that's just tightened up here near Chirino. So Chandler, let's zoom in on that one and maybe sample the winds on that. There could be some stronger winds within that cell, and we'll see. I have not heard any other reports from the Weather Service on the chat. They are just continuing the tornado warnings as we know these. This was at 4 o'clock. There was that one storm that was near Timpson, south of Carthage, moving to the northeast. This is a different cell though we're looking at. This is a 93 mile an hour shear in this. The velocity in this is 81 miles an hour. So this may become a tornado. So we'll take this off or at least maybe drag it up, and then I can tell folks along this county road 465, 445, please get into your shelter right now, all right? Shelter up, Chirino, shelter up. FM 95 South, you need to be in your shelter. Atoyac, you need to be in your shelter. Denning also into your shelter because this storm's going to move essentially across this area. Etoil's probably safe right now. I don't expect this cell to certainly turn and drop due south. Now we'd have to watch it in case it reorganized and something spun up farther to the south. So once that goes by and it looks like that general movement just crossed over 226, it looks like that general movement is right up towards Chirino and Atoyac. So that's going to move right on out of deep Nacogdoches County. There's Angelina. There's another one at Angelina County. This is southern Nacogdoches County into San Augustine County, and then eventually up into Shelby County. So 3 counties with the tornado warning. Chirino would be about 4:11, so that's in about 8 minutes. Noyville or Newville in about 4:35, so in about a half hour. And then it crosses the Toledo Bend toward Huxley at about 5 o'clock. So that's cell number. This is the strongest of these string of pearls down here, southwest of Grigsby. Weak little supercell there. Stronger supercell with possible winds at 90 miles an hour at Sherino, west of Broadus, south and east of Lufkin. That little powerful, discrete cell looks like it's trying to gain strength. But this is the one that could be producing a tornado. Chandler, let's go to our debris tracker and see what we have. See, there's a little bit of debris there. So we may have some debris on that cell southwest of Sherino toward Etoile, east of Woden. So if you live in this area here toward Sherino, please let's get to your shelter right now. And St. Augustine, let's also get to your shelter. So that's going to be south and east of Nacogdoches. It looks like Nacogdoches, for the time being, things have quieted down quite a bit. Lufkin is close to these cells, but it looks like they've just moved up to the east of Lufkin toward Huntington and between Broadus and Woden. So that cell rate, that looks like a mean tornadic signature right now, or a debris signature that's coming up with that storm. So that's of particular concern. I'm going to go back here and just read real quickly. So they're saying TDS on southeast Sabine Parish. Okay, that's out of Shreveport, or that's going to be over on the Louisiana side. So we're going to wait and see. This has got to be a tornado of some type, as strong as that indication is and as tight as that couplet is right now. That one looks like it's tightening up a little bit, but that's southern Nacogdoches County, and we just had some debris also reported in that storm. This one goes till 4:30. So this is about 25 minutes more on this cell, and you can see that bright green against that red. So there is certainly something going in. We've just zoomed down on this towards Sherino. Sherino's up in this area here. Etoyek was not very far away from that. And then there's Shelby County. Shelby County right now, that portion of Shelby County is not in the warning. Center is not in the warning, but that cell's likely headed right into center. So I'll give you a little downstream warning, maybe as much as an hour in advance, that this by 5 o'clock could be moving into center and then eventually moving up to the northeast. Another severe thunderstorm warning has come out just to the south of Groveton. We'll watch that cell as it moves north and east. Natchitoches right over in the Louisiana side also seeing a tornado warning. And then here south of Carthage, remember we had the northern part of Panola County and a cell go northwest of Carthage. Now we got another cell in Panola County till 4:15 that may drift southeast of Carthage. So Carthage, kind of like a football uprights, kind of splitting the uprights today with these cells going on both sides. Mount Enterprise is on the backside of that storm right now. So in Mount Enterprise, you're okay. Center, not so much. Let's zoom in down here into southern Nacogdoches County. Just kind of that storm in southern Nacogdoches County, it just looks really impressive at this time, especially when we're looking at it from so far away. It's got to be at least spinning in the mid-levels of the atmosphere and down to the surface. It could be spinning pretty strong at that time. But again, Etoile, I think you're okay, but Sherino, certainly you need to be in your shelter and taking that shelter when you can and remembering where to take shelter. You like the innermost portion of your home. If it's on the lowest floor, that's the best thing you can do. Unfortunately, not everyone can live in a structure that's on the lowest floor. Some of us live on second floor apartments, and we have to go find either a lower floor or we have to find a closet or a bathroom, maybe in the inner portion of that apartment that doesn't have any windows. Sometimes there are apartments that are butted up against each other, and the bathroom or the closet kind of butts up against the apartment next to it, and that would be a good room to be in because you've got several walls around you protecting you from the wind and from damage. But
That's our latest scan.
That's the latest scan. And so
right over Sherino.
Right over Sherino right now. So hopefully if you were in Sherino, you got to your shelter before that storm got there. Now again, I haven't had any reports. Meteorologist Chandler Jordan and myself have not had any reports of anything being confirmed. There may be some spotters out there that will relay that information, but it certainly looks like there is the possibility of something on the ground at that time.
Yeah, and in the control room, and I'm not able to get this message to Jesus. We've currently got Jesus headed towards DeBerry. So in the control room, damage at Old Town Road and 451 north of DeBerry. Large outbuilding was damaged there. Several trees shredded and thrown around the skies or around the grounds there, and fire departments in the local area clearing trees off of 451 just east of Old Town, and that's in association with the tornado that we had observed near DeBerry.
All right, and a new downstream warning is coming for the Panola County storm. So that's what we were just talking about up here. Well, that's Shelby County. So interesting to know. I'm not sure which cell they're talking about on on Panola County. Can you widen everything out here? I think we're going to get that cell there that they're going to warn. Oh, I see. So they're going to take that,
Downstream.
downstream and just kind of warn that over to the Louisiana border. That was supposed to expire at 4:15. So Shelby County, your warning will end for the northern half of the county at 4:15. Southeastern Panola County will go into the warning probably till about 4:30. This cell here, which looks like it's got a pretty impressive couplet on it right now, this warning goes till 4:30. I anticipate that warning being extended into Shelby County at least until 5 o'clock as that couplet moves across San Augustine County. So right now it's in southeastern Nacogdoches County. It's going to move across northwestern San Augustine, which is currently also in that warning, and then it'll move up to the north. Again, this was an interesting warning because there were 3 cells that were all warned in a very large area because they were all of similar strength, and they were moving basically in the same direction over the same areas. This one has sort of dominated or taken over as the strongest cell right now, just west of Chirino. I'm sure it's already moved over to the northwest side of Chirino toward Atoyac. So in between those 2 areas on FM 95 south, this area here is likely seeing either a very low cloud, maybe perhaps some funnel clouds moving overhead, or the possibility that there could be a small tornado or at times small tornado spin-ups. We've seen some debris from time to time when we have looked inside that storm, and we sampled some winds inside that storm closer to about 90 miles an hour. So that's one of those cells that is concerning right now in at least deep East Texas. By the way, it looks like if we widen things out and go back to reflectivity, we can give you this update. It looks like we're starting now to see this area here, closer to Interstate 20 and south of Interstate 20. This is beginning to stabilize. So south of Interstate 20, near Interstate 20 to the north and to the northwest, okay, this area is going to be okay now the rest of the night. It's essentially this area down here. So if I'd say from Henderson over to Carthage, down to Hemp Hill, back toward Crockett, maybe up to Jacksonville, though I think soon Jacksonville, I think Tyler's okay now as the cold front has sliced through Tyler. And when you say cold front, I don't think you're going to notice an abrupt drop in the temperature. You may notice the winds shifting to the west and the air will start to dry out a little bit. And that will essentially end the true severe threat across Tyler and down into Jacksonville. Longview may have to hold on to that a little bit longer. Gilmer, I think you're fine. Mount Pleasant for sure. Canton and Athens, you are good to go for the rest of the night. But it's these cells here all the way down south of Angelina County that continue to be really the problematic cells as they move north and eastward, because this environment still has some energy to work with. Even though we've had several cells coming through here, we still have strong enough winds aloft to make these storms turn as they continue to develop. What we'd like to see is for these storms to just kind of get cut off, stop developing, and stop moving into that area. Or eventually, the stronger winds that are producing these spinning storms will move over into Louisiana. So let's put this into motion, give you an idea. This is the overview of what's going on out here this afternoon. You can see anywhere you see the cells now starting to shift a little bit to the east, that's where we're starting to see the cold front moving through. So it's cleared through Tyler, just about through Jacksonville, certainly through Palestine, and up to not quite to Jefferson yet. So it's kind of in this area here where that front has made it through. So just out ahead of the front, and that's where we've seen the tornado warning in DeBerry and near Elysian Fields. And that cell right there, as that climbs through Panola County and moves across eastern Panola County, eventually over into the Shreveport, Bossier City area, and then that cell in southeastern parts of Nacogdoches County up into Panola County. So we can put the warnings back on those cells again and give everybody just kind of an overview of what's happening. So there are several tornado warnings still out there. The tornado warning is now over for Harrison County. We still have the tornado warning ongoing for Nacogdoches and San Augustine County till 4:30. It has ended for Angelina County. And it looks like, I'm not sure why we're not seeing that cell there, Chandler. It looks like Panola County should still be under some sort of tornado warning. But
Yeah, they are, it
okay.
looks like.
Yeah, I was on that cell, okay, till 4:15. So we're just about 2 minutes away. It'll be interesting to see what they do with this.
Oh, they extended it downstream until 5 o'clock, but that's all the way into Stonewall, which is a part of the DeSoto and Caddo parishes. So we're getting closer and closer to seeing another cell escape our viewing area, and from there we'll be okay. But this is the center of circulation to the northeast of Gary City, again in correspondence with this tornado warning that we've got in effect until 5 o'clock this evening, and this is continuing to move off to the northeast at about 40 miles per hour, and this is going to continue to move off to the north and east at about 40 miles per hour. So I think eventually, once we get to about 4:30, 4:35, this circulation is going to be, oh, that's the wrong tool. This circulation is going to be able to get out of our viewing area, and from there, we will be able to keep our attention away from this storm. Again, this is moving off to the north and east at about 45 miles per hour, so we'll see this. They just dropped the other warning. So we've got about 15 to 20 more minutes on this particular circulation northeast of Gary City before it makes its way into Louisiana. So we have a view from Mount Enterprise looking off to the east and northeast. We might be able to see, with how low the cloud bases are today, it's going to be really hard through the trees.
In those trees.
In the piney woods.
Yeah, and that makes chasing across the piney woods extremely difficult, and why sometimes, we're looking at radar and we're saying, well, we can't confirm this, we can't confirm that. We have to go off of radar instinct and education and trying to keep you guys out ahead of the storms. But you can see right now, those are a lot of scary looking clouds. They're not doing anything, but they certainly look scary, certainly look like they could be producing something, but we're just not seeing anything that would be of real concern. That would probably be the best way to term that. But certainly that environment there is just, and that was from Mount Enterprise, and I think that's going to be a little farther. It might be looking toward that storm that was toward Garrison or Appleby. This other storm here, is that what it was?
Oh, no, I was going to say, if we could we get that camera to turn to the southeast? Because we have gotten a lot more tightening on this cell near Sherino that we were looking at. It actually
you want
coming together quite well.
Sample that wind in there. I bet we're probably getting at least
we're pushing close to 100, I'm
sure. We
should
be. And that was toward Atoyac. And that was just to the north of Sherino. So they are.
There we are.
Oh, what are we, 105?
Yeah.
Yeah, so this is a pretty powerful couplet right here. So I'm going to say there's got to be a tornado very close to that. If you turn back on our Titan indicators, we'll probably come up with either close to a tornado or, if not, a strong meso within that region right there. So that's just close. There it is. That is a strong meso right now. So a lot of tight circulation in there. In fact, the tornado impact's up to about a 4, and the wind impact is at a 9. Anytime we see this kind of combination, we should be concerned about some wind damage in that area. Even if we aren't getting a tornado, we can have some strong downburst winds coming out of that thunderstorm that are spreading out across the region. And with that, there was concern in that area today with enhanced wind risk today of 75 to 80, 85 mile an hour winds. And so that could certainly be the case here. There's Sherino. This has now moved up to the north of that. That circulation has jumped up to County Road 203. Here's County Road 225 and County Road 388. It's right over 388 right now, headed up toward 325.
And Brett, you know what? I'll turn the warnings back on and kind of put both of these warnings in display. I was just reading through the chat a moment ago. We still got a Titan indicator on this storm, but at 4:09 p.m., this isn't a confirmed report, but a part of our spotter network, preliminarily reporting a tornado that touched down 6 miles northwest of Tenaha. And that was, again, at 4:09 p.m., which is going to be in association with this tornado-warned storm that in about 10 to 15 minutes is going to make its way into the Caddo and DeSoto parishes. All
right, so then that'll be gone then. So, yeah, this has been, a tough bunch of cells to track here, because if we've got tornado, we look at them, and then we get a spotter that says later that there was a quick tornado that touched down. And that's why we want to stay on this one so much, because I really think that we've got a tornado at least very close to on the ground, if not on the ground there, southwest or west of San Augustine, crossing into San Augustine County out of southeastern Nacogdoches County right now, and that's near Atoyac. So there could be some, we may have some damage. Let's go to our debris signature and see if there's anything. See, there's not much at all. There might be some hail in there, but I'm not seeing anything in the way of debris, and that's not going to be anything worth note. So, yeah, it's amazing to think that we can have such tight signatures and such almost textbook signatures from time to time today. and yet we've come away with numerous reports of funnels, but no, except for one, up toward DeBerry and up toward Elysian Fields, no significant damage in terms of these tornadoes. But again, this tornado warning for Nacogdoches County and San Augustine County goes for about another 11 minutes till 4:30, and that's west of San Augustine. So that'll continue moving in that direction. All right, new warning coming for the downstream of the San Augustine storm. So we're going to get a new warning downstream of the San Augustine storm. So I'm guessing they are going to warn this portion of the storm northeast of that for a tornado warning. So if you can pan that out just a little bit, it's going to be, maybe go back to reflectivity, or well, we're on, on velocity, sorry. Yeah, it's got to be one of the, and both of these cells now. Now, if these cells can kind of merge together, one of those may just kind of rob the energy out of the other one, and then that'll just maybe help it out a little bit in terms of weakening the storm as it goes. That's Shelby County. There it is. I mean, it's a pretty strong couplet. That's one of the stronger couplets we've seen this afternoon. And that's going to move over into Shelby County here. So we'll get a Shelby County tornado warning likely until about 5 o'clock. And then we'll see what happens with this portion of the cell. It's moved out of Angelina County, and currently Angelina County does not have any type of tornado warnings that are in place. We still have that other tornado warning up to the north. This is moving northeast of Tenaha. In fact, there's one of our tornado indicators here on that cell near Tenaha. So let's, in Panola County, so that's near Gary City. So let's click on that and give us a Titan indicator as to what we're looking at. We're looking at a tornado impact of 8.5. One of the higher ones we've seen today. Some large hail also in this storm, and it's moving northeast at 48 miles an hour. So let's pay particular attention to this cell here. There's some strong velocity coming out of that cell northeast of Gary City, west of Longstreet, in this tornado-warned storm that goes until 5 o'clock, and that is a recently issued tornado warning. So let's kind of get a little wind sample on that and see what we can check out in terms of the wind on that cell right there to the northeast of Gary City. So 67, okay, not particularly one of the stronger shear, gate-to-gate shears that we've picked up today. We've had been as high as about 108, and even on that cell itself, it did not, we did not hear of any reports of any tornado touching down, but certainly there are some strong winds within that cell, as we were showing you, in the order of more than 60 miles an hour, so close to a tornado. And our Titan indicator would suggest that there is a high likelihood that there could be a tornado between Logan and Gary City right here to the east of Highway 59.
We should be getting a new scan shortly.
Yeah, we should, right? So, and let's see, I'm looking for anybody, any of the spotters that are not seeing anything yet. Okay, so that's where we stand. Let's zoom in a little bit tighter on this. We've got some county, there it is. So, and it looks like it widened back out again. So these things have been, this afternoon, tight at times and then very wide circulations at times. I mean, they've been, I think, scarier looking than what they've done, except for that one storm toward Elysian Fields. And I'm not so convinced that we didn't have maybe some brief touchdowns in different places throughout the afternoon. I'm thinking back to Brockfield. There was one that looked like it was certainly in Lakeport. If there are any reports of any damage coming out of Lakeport, let us know. Please, you can text us 903-600-2600. You can also email any pictures that you can safely get or share with those. Share it with the weather team, whether at CBS19.tv or KYTX News at CBS19.tv, and we can get those out and show those and share those with everyone to give you an idea of what you've kind of lived through here this afternoon. But again, hopefully all of us are going to come through this unscathed here, except for maybe just some rattled nerves and some, just a little bit on the scared side, just because we have so many severe thunderstorm warnings. And there's concern when you have this type of environment in December to have all of this humidity around, and then you have these strong storms around. So that's the cell right now that is now west of Calgary, southeast of Grigsby, continues to be in a tornado-warned area till 4:30. But will be moved up to the northeast till 5 o'clock for San Augustine and Shelby County. So that's been extended northeastward till 5. And that cell continues to move, as most of these do, moving to the northeast at about 40 miles an hour. So these are fast-moving storms, and just because of their forward motion, they're moving so fast, that doesn't take much to get them to start rotating and producing some very strong winds.
And thankfully, by the time we get to about 5:05, this will also be in Louisiana.
This should be out of our area. Yeah, and I think for the most part, this whole event for us should be over by about 7 o'clock. Even though we have the tornado watch until 10 o'clock, I think most of the cells will have moved out of Louisiana, or the cold front will have moved through by that time and essentially end the severe threat for most of East Texas. So we've got Shelbyville here in about, let's see, it's 4:40, it's been about 12 minutes, and Newville in about 10 minutes. So, or I should say in about, let's see, 46, 24, doing a little bit of math here fast. 12 minutes, and then Shelbyville in about 22 minutes. All right, so you've got some time on those two cells, then up toward Union Springs as it moves across into Louisiana after that at about 5:11. So again, no reports of any type of tornado with that, but that couplet continues to be rather impressive as it moves now into Shelby County. And we've got that other cell back here in Nacogdoches County set to expire in about 5 minutes. Does not look as impressive. We'll see if they do. Are they going to extend that warning downstream for that one?
We'll have to see if they're going to extend that farther downstream. Looks like they're continuing the tornado warning that's up towards Caddo, DeSoto Parish, and Panola counties also until 5 o'clock. And I think when we get the next scan in on this particular cell, the center of circulation, which you see here roughly just a few miles to the north of Logan, I think the next scan we'll see it cross over into the Louisiana side, and from there no longer a threat to us, thankfully.
Yeah.
But still need a few more minutes here to and maybe even if you have family in places like Stonewall, Staples, Norton, right along I-49 to the south of Shreveport, let them know what's headed their way.
Oh yeah, I mean, we know that a lot of folks between Shreveport and Tyler are just kind of coming back and forth. Some folks live over in Louisiana, travel into East Texas for work, and vice versa. So just because a storm is moving out of Texas and into Louisiana doesn't mean that you might not be impacted by the storm as it moves away from us. It just kind of means that the threat for the particular county would be over at that time. There's DeBerry, and we've had reports of damage in DeBerry, and again, we have our Titan indicator showing at least signs of the possibility of a tornado there near Gary City, and that moves away, I think to the northeast of Gary City. So Gary City is in the clear, even Carthage is in the clear, Pine Hill, Dotson, Timpson, Flat Fork. You've all made it through these storms so far. We'll look back downstream, back to the southwest, but the way things are going and the way the timing of the data played out, most of this toward 5, 6 o'clock should start to transition well to the south, maybe Sabine or San Augustine for the last of the storms as they move from the southwest to the northeast. But at the same time, we've got the instability axis starting to erode because the cold front is moving in, and the storms now are starting to undercut that instability, and it's starting to sort of stabilize everything. And so all the showers and thunderstorms back closer to Interstate 20, back closer to Tyler, Longview, and back towards, say, Jacksonville, down to Alto. These are all, if there are any more storms tonight, they will be they should be non-severe showers and thunderstorms.
And thankfully, too, Brett, a bit of a quick analysis by our partners at the Weather Service in Shreveport. Pretty much anywhere west of the current polygons that we have and the current tornado warnings that we have in effect, we'll use reflectivity, it'll be a little easier to tell. Pretty much anywhere west of these warnings right now, which is going to be a good portion of this unused atmosphere, we're starting to see, and also within the mesoanalysis, which is pretty much just taking at a small scale, getting an idea of the parameters that we use for severe weather and tornadic development. We're getting some indications, and according to the Weather Service office out of Shreveport, that we are rapidly losing our low-level shear, which is the spin that we use to have thunderstorms that could eventually become tornadic, and pretty much through the rest of this event, it will have any storm to the west of our current warnings will have a very difficult time producing any type of rotation.
That is certainly good news. So we could almost tell everyone that if you are in Henderson, you're in the clear right now, Longview, Jefferson, Jacksonville, even Nacogdoches now. You're in the clear for the rest of the night, and Crockett is going to have a very hard time producing any severe weather. So this is really good news. The only trouble spot here would be Sabine, San Augustine County. I did just see that I think they're going to extend this warning here up
Yeah,
in this.
they just continued that warning until 5:15, and that's for that circulation we've been keeping a close eye out for. That's now just to the west of Newville and Calgary.
And that one near Sherino?
Yeah.
I think they're also, and that one goes, where is that one goes? That goes till 5:15.
Yeah, there's a lot of polygons here.
So we have one that ends at 5 o'clock. We have one that's going to end at 5:15. This might be the last warning of the evening or the afternoon. And then back here towards Woden, this is a rather large, this is the one that should be ending or is ending at 4:30, I think.
I hope yes, that'll be at 4:30. It's
Yeah.
a little difficult to see right now, but they've been super busy. And this particular warning, remember, we had three separate couplets that they warned at once, just because we had the training.
Okay. And as you had reported earlier, and I think we have a crew on the way, 9 miles southwest of Wascom in Harrison County, a storm chaser reports a tornado and damage at Old Town Road, 451 north of DeBerry, a large outbuilding damaged and several trees shredded, fire clearing trees off of 451 just east of Old Town. So, yeah, a lot of trees torn up in this.
And our chief photographer, Alan Casper, he's going to be he's en route to Nacogdoches as we speak. So if we get any reports on either of these rotations, we'll be able to get someone there immediately.
Okay. This one looks kind of strong there again toward Newville. It's a bright red up against that bright green. If we zoom in on that area, that one's just really kind of strengthened again right there just to the north of County Road 201, west of Calgary. To the southwest of Newville. So hopefully if you are in Newville or Calgary, you are in your safe place and you're sheltered until this storm passes overhead. This probably looks very, very ominous in terms of dark lowering clouds. And look at that, gate-to-gate shear on it's 107 miles an hour. So that's one of the stronger shears that we've picked up here today. That would be equivalent of an EF1 tornado if it were on the ground. Again, we could be sampling into the middle part of the storm where there is some rapid and strong mid-level rotation at about maybe 7,000, 8,000 feet off the surface. But if you could translate that down to the surface, then we'd have a tornado on the ground. In fact, right now our tornado impact is rather on the low side, which is surprising to see. The wind impact just a little bit higher. The hail impact around a 5, and this is moving northeast at 34 miles an hour with the max hail size just outside of the severe criteria of about a quarter. So that's going to head across San Augustine County and the northern end of Toledo Bend, and then I think move out. So there's 96, crosses over 96, heads up to Shelbyville at 452, and then right along the Texas-Louisiana border about 512, and this cell is warned till 515 for a tornado warning. So that's a tornado warning till 515, and that is for southern Shelby County, San Augustine County. I believe Nacogdoches County will be dropped before that warning is supposed to expire. They do have just that little sliver of Nacogdoches County inside of that. We're looking inside the storm using our Titan indicator with a tornado impact now rising up to about a 4 to 4.5. So it's about a medium strength. In fact, now we're starting to see the tornado indicator pop up on the storm with a gate-to-gate shear of 107 miles an hour. So winds going toward and away, the radar added up around 107 miles an hour, and that is certainly possible and strong enough to have a tornado and a tornado on the ground. I have not seen any I don't know if there's a chaser down there. It may be very tough for anyone to chase down there, but we don't have any reports of anybody saying that they have seen a tornado in that area. But just based off of our radar, there certainly could be something that could be producing a tornado at this time. So certainly worth staying on the air for the folks down at San Augustine County. Certainly worth measuring as it moves toward Newville. Hopefully folks in Newville are in their shelter. The storm has passed to the east of Sherino, San Augustine. Now, watching that cell, right on the edge here of this polygon, so this may just pass by to your north and to your northwest. But both of these cells now, I believe, are warned till 515. So we've got two cells still warned till 515 with shear there on that other cell at 100 miles an hour. So that one's also strengthened. So these two, I think, have caught the last pieces of the energy, the last pieces of the strong low-level wind shear in place. And it's in place in that area where, all the model data indicated that it could be with a re-energizing of the storms late this afternoon. And so it's right in that key area of Nacogdoches County or southeastern Nacogdoches County, really Shelby, San Augustine, and Sabine County. So these three counties here going forward are really where the rest of our concern is for about the next 45 minutes. Anywhere else, I think we're okay back toward Alto, back to Lufkin, and back to the northwest. So those are the two cells of particular interest at this time. The rest of us should be A-okay. Even up here to the north in parts of Harrison County, that cell is starting to move over into Louisiana.
Titan indicator strengthened.
Whew, yeah, it's gotten a little bit stronger, and I'm sure those shear indicators are very strong. There's got to be, again, I'm not there, but an 8.1 on the tornado indicator. When we were looking at a couple years ago, we were seeing numbers like that on a Mount Enterprise tornado. We had quite a bit of damage in that area. So even though the gate-to-gate shear is down to about a 98, that couplet has tightened up enough that now we're back up to 107. So you're looking at anywhere from 198 to about 197 or 107 mile-an-hour winds possible within that cell. That would do enough damage. Even if it's straight line wind damage, it would do, if it's straight line, it would do wind damage in that area. Here's Highway 96. Coming out of Center, if you're in Center and you were going to say drive down to San Augustine, I would not leave right now. I'd stay right where you are and wait for that storm to pass out of the area. If you're in Calgary, you need to be in your shelter. Newville also in your shelter with that very powerful supercell just to your west, or very powerful discrete cell just to your west, headed northeast at around 40 miles an hour. Let's do a new track on that and try to give anybody who might be just tuning in an idea of when they'll make it to Newville. Could be within the next, I'd say, 10 to 15 minutes. I think these storms are moving roughly close to 40 miles an hour, somewhere in that vicinity there. And so that puts it into Newville at 4:40, so that's 5 minutes from now. So if you're in Newville, you just turned this on and you're wondering what's heading in your direction, you have about 5 minutes before a very powerful potential tornadic cell moves overhead. At Shelbyville, you have roughly about 9 minutes or 14 minutes before that strong and powerful supercell moves overhead, potentially a tornado-producing cell at this time as it moves out of San Augustine County and moves toward parts of southern Shelby County.
And the good news, the Panola County tornado warning has been canceled, and so you folks in Panola County are all good to go. I think we're about to get an updated scan here on our radar product. So this center of circulation that was associated with the tornado warning in Panola County is now likely to be farther to the east and northeast into the Caddo and DeSoto parishes. So Panola County's good to go. And we've got some Harrison County Sheriff's Office footage or photo.
No, we're going to do.
Phone
we're going
okay,
to, yeah, we're going to talk with
sorry.
Harrison County Sheriff's Office at this time and find out. It's Captain Craig Owens. Captain Owens, thanks for joining us this evening here at CBS 19. What can you tell us about the damage that we're hearing about in Harrison County?
So right now we've got a lot of resources that are in the southeastern portion of our county. We cannot confirm, but we have been reported that Elysian Fields ISD High School does have damage. And you can actually, our units have GPS markers on them, and you can actually track them on our GPS mapping system that shows a significant line of where you guys reported the tornado being earlier this evening. We do have concerns as we approach kind of the evening hours and it becomes dark. Those power lines that are down makes it hard for people to visibly see these things. And so we're asking our residents that do not reside there in the Elysian Fields, Weaver area to go ahead and stay out of the area. Let our emergency crews do what they do best. These guys are trained to handle these kind of situations. And so, but the damage right now that I can report is we do have significant damage in southeastern Harrison County with debris on roadways, power lines down, damages to homes, as you would see with a tornado.
And we were also hearing reports that there were possible fences down and that some cows had gotten out onto county roads. I think that would be a concern for anyone driving tonight.
Absolutely, yes, sir. That's not only in southeastern Harrison County, but it's also in the earlier tornado warning that was issued in the Fallsville area. They're on 450 Highway 80 area, but we've not gotten any more updates or calls for service in that area. So I wouldn't consider that a great risk, but a great threat. But the southeastern portion of our county does have significant damage.
And could you elaborate on the damage to the Elysian Fields High School?
So I can't. Our deputies are trying to get there. The debris is so significant on the roadways that we're unable to confirm that at this point in time. But we have been reported, I believe, by the Elysian Fields Fire Department, who are on scene working hard right now as well, that we do have damage to the high school, which the Elysian Fields Fire Department is just to the west of Elysian Fields High School.
Okay, and so we know we have damage consistent with the tornado, but did spotters or deputies spot a tornado in that area?
So we did see some activity earlier, but I don't believe any confirmation that a tornado was on the ground. We did receive a National Weather Service update through our telecommunications division that there was a tornado on the ground, a very large tornado is what the National Weather Service advised in that general area, and it's consistent with what we're seeing and being reported by the damage.
All right, Captain Owens with the Harrison County Sheriff's Office, thanks for joining us this evening here on CBS 19. Have a safe night.
You too. Bye-bye.
Thank you. All right, so we're getting confirmed reports of damage near Elysian Fields. We also had some reports near DeBerry in Harrison County and northern parts of Panola County. So we do have crews on the way there to assess the damage and bring you back some information. Again, he did mention damage at Elysian Fields High School, and they were on their way trying to confirm that and get reports. All right, so this cell here toward Newville, crossing right over Newville, and we continue to have a very strong, what we call the Titan indicator on the tornado, and that tornado threat there has been as high as about an 8 earlier, and it's even gotten stronger, about an 8.3 with an impact around 5. So we're moving to the northeast at 35 miles an hour. So based on what I'm seeing here, there's probably a tornado on the ground, and if you're in the Newville area, you need to be in your shelter. East Liberty at 87, likely also in your shelter, and Shelbyville. So let's get to our shelter in these areas. Anywhere, if you live along those highways just to the east of that, Calgary's probably okay. This cell will likely lift and come to the north. It may just miss Shelbyville or could catch the south side of town. Calgary is going to see that cell pass to the north. Patroon, it's going to pass, I think, also to your northwest. East Liberty, you may feel some of the winds off the cell as it goes overhead. It's going to be very close to call. It's within the polygon, so I would be in my shelter there. And then at Drecka, over as it continues moving to the northeast. It looks like Short is right now in part of that storm, and that once we get the next scan, we might be able to tell you in Short that you're okay. Right along Highway 96, again, it's a very strong storm. We've picked up some and sampled some wind speeds inside that storm, more than 100 miles an hour. So with that, looking at it in terms of the wind speeds and that tight couplet, and even this tight couplet down here to the southwest, west of San Augustine, that's tightened up just a little bit, but our Titan indicator is not putting any type of mesocyclone on that or any type of cyclonic flow, but it certainly is on the Newville storm with the potential for a tornado. But that is one that's moving to the northeast also and could move over some of the same areas that are seeing this first cell here. We call this, when we have numerous cells like this, the string of pearls, and we saw several of those move from the southwest to the northeast earlier. And those, and now there's only 2 of those left. There were at times, I believe, 3, maybe as many as 4, but there's 2 currently. And 2 of these cells apparently merged into this one here. So East Liberty 504, both of these warnings go till 5:15 for San Augustine and Shelby County. It's just different portions of the county. For instance, this portion here is northwestern San Augustine County, and this other cell, or this other outlined area, is going to include more of Shelby County, and this one will include southeastern Shelby County. So we're going to get a new scan on this one. It looks like we've already jumped this up across east of Newville now into southern parts of Shelby County, south and east of Center. So if you live in Center, I'm going to say you're okay. You can come out of your shelter. You'll be okay now for the rest of the night. Huxley still has to watch that. There should be a new scan coming in within seconds, Chandler, right?
Yeah, I think so, especially typically whenever we see the icons jump like that. Any moment now we'll see our scans come in. And, since we are a lot farther from the radar site in Shreveport, you can see the beam coming around now. So hopefully we can get an updated picture here shortly. But yeah, we've still got 2 tornado warnings that we're keeping a close eye out for that are currently a mere 15 to 30 minutes from making their way into Louisiana. And if we can continue to just hold tight on this environment. Let's hope that we can, these will be the last two that we've got to deal with.
And our thinking is, and from what the Weather Service is also sharing with us, is that these are really the last three cells that are working their way into the environment that would be most conducive for tornadic cells. These other showers and thunderstorms back here to the southwest, while you do have showers and thunderstorms, now are behind the cold front. Notice the direction they're moving west to east. So now these are what we call elevated. So when they're elevated, they have a harder time becoming surface-based. So yeah, you could have a little bit of small hail, certainly some heavy rainfall out of these, but since they can't get down to the surface, they should have some thunder, lightning. There can be an occasional stronger wind gust, but the threat is far less for a tornado than it is on these cells that are marching from the southwest to the northeast. And we still continue to see these little cells now moving back across Angelina County, but I do not believe these are warned right now. And again, most of these are moving into an environment that has just been chewed up. I mean, this environment was full of energy, but these cells here have just been eating away at that energy. And so I don't think these cells will have a whole lot more to work with. I can't say for sure, but these don't have the same robust look that some of these cells had when they were coming out of deep East Texas and up into parts of San Augustine and Panola and Shelby County. So you can see we still have our Titan indicator on that tornado warning right there, southeast of center on that cell, and it still continues to show the possibility of this cell toward Newville and Calgary in that severe or tornado warned storm that is ongoing till 5:15.
And it
This
just dropped.
north end of Toledo Bend, so they just dropped the warning?
Or it just dropped the Titan indicator.
Oh, okay, all right. For a second there, I thought maybe we had said, oh, everything fell apart. That doesn't really happen. There it is, Calgary, and then that one up at Newville. So we have two storms north that are going to cross over the north end of Toledo Bend, and then they will be into Louisiana. So we still have one warning. This is the most northern one goes until 5 o'clock, so that's 15 more minutes. And the reason that's 15 more minutes is because likely it moves over into Louisiana in 15 minutes. This one goes until 5:15, so it may take till 5:15 to get that in onto the Louisiana side. So that cell still heading toward Union Springs, but that's in Louisiana, so that'll take until about 5:13. So that's why you've got that warning that's going on roughly into that 5 to 5:15 time frame. I mean, maybe it gets extended a little bit longer. That cell is certainly jumping and moving to our northeast. Again, this was stronger earlier. It looks like it's weakened just a little bit, and this cell has strengthened just a little bit, so they're about equal strength. I don't, maybe we can take a little inspection and sample some of the wind speeds in here. I don't see anything super concerning with the wind speeds. The circulation also looks to be moderate to broad at this time. You're getting velocities closer to 50 miles an hour with gate-to-gate shears, a little bit less than that. So yeah, that one's not as much in terms of a tornado producer. Up to the north a little bit, this one still has some signature of some tighter spins. Yeah, gate-to-gate shear, and this is still 88 miles an hour, so this could still be, I mean, we may still have a tornado east of Choice, west of Heardstown, and splitting between Shelby and Heardstown on 87, just crossing and moving out and away in central portions of Panola County. So that's and still, again, I don't think there's any spotters down there. The National Weather Service has certainly not talked about that storm at all. They've kind of just been, it's down there and it's doing what it's doing, but we haven't heard any reports of anything from that area. All right, let's zoom back out, and on our reflectivity, we're trying to get you up till 5 o'clock on these cells as they continue to move out, but really, I mean, things are looking a lot more favorable than they were. That little cell back here toward, let's go back to Houston County in Crockett. We'll zoom in on this cell over here. There's a little bit of hail potentially coming out of that, maybe some, or certainly some thunder or lightning. So it has more of a wind impact around a 7. In fact, if I looked at this on 287 here and take this off and look at that little inflow here toward Latexo and Crockett south of Grapeland on 287 coming to the northeast of Porter Springs. So right in here, maybe we have a little bit of wind. There might be some hail out in this part toward Balot, up toward Kennard, and over toward, let's see, south of Mound City. So right in here, we may have a little heavier portion of a storm that's moving, but this is moving to the northeast, and I think if we put this into motion, this will soon get undercut by the cold front. Looks like it's moving from the southwest to the northeast here. Generally, the front should be almost moving into Houston County, so it shouldn't take long before that cell begins to weaken just a little bit. So, and then this cell here looks like it's getting a little bit stronger as it moves into southern Angelina County. But currently, the warnings that we have are going to be in southern Shelby, San Augustine County, and I think northern Sabine County for the time being.
Yeah, and we're still continuing to keep an eye out on these pairs of tornado warnings that we've got currently. And still, these are out ahead of the main line of thunderstorms associated with the cold front themselves. And they're starting to merge with one another, which for one storm, that's a good thing, and for one storm, that's a bad thing. But generally speaking, over the last 15 to 20 minutes, we've seen both of these areas of rotation weaken. And I still think this particular cell that's got our Titan indicator just to the north here, I'll take the tornado warning off so we can get a read. And now we've seen the new Storm Tracks update. Now we're getting more of a Titan indicator for this cell that we haven't really spent as much time on because it hasn't shown any type of indication. But now we're getting a tornado impact with that of a 6.2. And both of these cells are moving at about 35 to 40 miles per hour. And by the time we get to quarter after 5 or 5:30, these will both most definitely be in Louisiana. So we'll do a storm track for the more the strongest of the two couplets, which appears to be this one just to the north and northeast of San Augustine, moving northeast at about 35 to 40 miles per hour. So that puts it into Drecka by 5:10, East Liberty by 5:04. If you've got some folks or some family in Huxley, make sure that they're in their safe spot. This is headed towards them by around 5:20. Once we hit about 5:25, 5:30, this particular area of rotation will be out of our viewing area, out of Texas and into Louisiana. So that's definitely some good news. Just got to hold strong and stay sheltered and in place until we get to the end of this warning, which I'm sure they'll allow to extend as long as we have rotation like we've
We have
got.
a new severe thunderstorm warning now just issued for Houston County. So it was the cell that we were just looking at that was coming, it was spinning, and it had some hail indicator on our Titan indicator. It was showing you some hail here. So now they've warned this with a severe thunderstorm warning, and they've placed a little tornado tag on it. So yeah, I bet if we put this into motion, you'd see a little spin in that portion of the cell there between Lovelady, headed toward, looks like it's going to move to the southeast of Crockett, the way it's moving up toward Kennard. So yeah, it looks like it's got a little hail core going on it. Looks like there might be just something trying to form on the southwestern side of it to the southeast of Crockett, and that's going to be west or southwest of Kennard again. This is moving northeast, most likely like the rest of the storms, at about 30 or 40, 45 miles an hour. I do notice, Chandler, the way that this storm at the last second kind of moves a little more west to east instead of southwest. So maybe it's starting to get kind of undercut into that a little bit better.
Let's hope so. We've already had a busy day dealing with the different warnings and looking at our storm relative velocity product, relatively broad, still certainly though something that we'll need to keep an eye out for in the area of rotation that the National Weather Service out of Houston is keeping an eye out for.
Yeah.
Is right here just by cut. And with the updated scan, it is currently right over cut. Very broad still at this moment, which is why they opted with the tornado possible tag instead of the actual tag of a tornado warned storm. And, we're starting to get into that, I guess you could call it no man's land, where we have beam splitting, which is where we're starting to see these shades of purple that you see on radar. This just pretty much means that our velocity, or really any product that we use, is going to have more of a difficult time getting the velocities scanned or our reflectivity, and it can make things really messy to try and dissect and analyze on the spot.
Yeah, and we're about 15 minutes away from sunset too, so that I think we've been aided today by have these happening during the day, and so people have been able to get visuals on those for any type of warnings. Now, if it gets after dark, it might get a little bit tougher, and so it'll be, I think, a tougher task to confirm what they're seeing on radar versus what's radar indicated and what's actually going on here. So, but that's the way it stands right now. This is the Houston County storm till 5:15. We also have these tornado warned storms into Shelby County, and that one's moving out of San Augustine into Shelby County. So we'll have two storms southeast of center, both capable of producing a quick spin-up tornado or perhaps a longer-lasting tornado, as this one east of center has shown several times to have some very strong winds in it, in excess of 100 miles an hour. So it will be interesting to see if the National Weather Service doesn't start to hear about some damage. It may just be a lot of forest land over parts of southern Shelby County and northern San Augustine County, with maybe some isolated areas that where some damage, an outbuilding or something of that nature. But spotters down there, tough to see, real hilly terrain, heading down toward Toledo Bend. I mean, unless you're looking for it, it could just be showers and thunderstorms that were moving overhead and very tough to see as we head into the afternoon. No reports of any damage down here in southern Shelby County and or San Augustine County. We have had reports today of damage in southern Harrison County, and that's confirmed from the sheriff's office, and also northern Panola County, so anywhere from DeBerry up to Elysian Fields. Reports that the high school was damaged by a tornado. Reports of fences down, outbuildings, that cows were out on some of the county roads. There are number of trees that are obstructing county roads, and so if you're trying to drive around in parts of southern Harrison County, there are a lot of obstacles on the roadway. Now as it becomes a little bit darker, it'll be tougher to see. We wouldn't want you to run into any debris that would be on the roadway after today's tornado. Possible, I think it'll be confirmed that it was spotted by spotters. It was a large tornado spotted by trained storm spotters. The rotation on radar certainly would be indicative of a tornado. So my expert opinion would be we had a tornado warning. We had a tornado in southern Harrison County today. Maybe northern Panola County as it was lifting to the north and to the northeast. And as it moves away and moved into Louisiana, there is still a storm spotter over there that was reporting a tornado near Shreveport that lifted, but he was talking about debris being thrown and lofted out of the sky from the tornado. And that would be the other thing that we saw in the storm in Harrison County. We had debris, so the debris showed up. The debris correlated with where the velocity signature would tell us there was a tornado, and it also correlated with the reflectivity signature telling that there could be a tornado. So all of those three things put together, plus trained spotters seeing it, and then the damage that, as Captain Owens told us with the Harrison County Sheriff's Department, consistent with tornado damage, that should add up to a tornado in Harrison County, a rare December tornado. Like I said earlier, if you've been watching us for the last couple of hours, last time we had tornadoes in East Texas or Western Louisiana was back in December, was in 2019. So it's been about 3 years since that happened. Certainly don't like to see that any time of the year. December, not one of those times where you typically think about tornadic weather. But it proves that we can have tornado warnings at any time of the day, any time of the year. And we're seeing that here this afternoon. All right, right now, this is the latest on this cell that's just crossed out of San Augustine County. San Augustine and Nacogdoches County should be removed from that tornado warning till 5:15. It still has Lula, Trenton, Mansfield, and Evelyn to go. And Lula's going to be across the Shelby County line into Louisiana, and then that will be it for that storm. This cell here is going to move over into Louisiana within the next few minutes. Both of these warnings go. One of them goes till 5 o'clock. The other one goes till 5:15. So this one goes till 5. So that should be over here within the next 3 to 5 minutes. And then this one has probably another. That's amazing to think that in 15 minutes it could almost go the width of the county over into Louisiana. This just gives you the idea, or tells you how fast these storms are moving aloft. The winds aloft are 60, 70, even stronger than that, moving the storms along. So it doesn't take much to transfer some of that energy down to the surface and get straight line winds in that magnitude. But if you have that spinning in the atmosphere and you have some stronger winds, even stronger than that, higher up in the atmosphere, you can get everything twisting and turning. And so you can have these tornado warnings that have been.
And scary stuff up towards Shreveport, too. Our friends and partners at the National Weather Service out of Dallas-Fort Worth have temporarily taken over operations for our area, as Shreveport's Weather Service office has been evacuated and told to shelter in place. as they've got a confirmed tornado. The one that Brett had mentioned was tossing debris up in the air is currently headed their way. So let's hope that we can see that area circulation entirely miss them.
All right, interesting note just coming to us from the Houston National Weather Service office. They have expired the tornado watch for Houston and Madison counties in Deep East Texas. So even though we have a severe thunderstorm warning in Houston County, the tornado watch now has been expired. So it was set to go till I think 5 or maybe till 10 o'clock for Houston County, and now that's over early. We should see most of our counties knocked out of the tornado watch area before it is set to expire at 10 p.m. So that's because once we get rid of these cells, really everything back to the west is going to kind of lose a lot of its power here. So I believe as we come on now to 5 o'clock, we would typically be joining you with CBS 19 News at 5, but since we have the tornado warning, we'll continue our coverage here until the last tornado warning is expired, and that'll be about 15 minutes from now. And then we'll likely join CBS 19 News at 5 in progress, or continue this coverage maybe up till about 5:30, since we have some crews out in the field trying to gather some damage reports out of southern Harrison County and northern Panola County. But either way, as we track these storms through the next 15 minutes to their expiration, you would typically be seeing CBS 19 News at 5, but you're going to watch some weather coverage as we continue to track these storms across the area. Again, these are non-severe thunderstorms all the way back down to Crockett until you get to Crockett. Then Houston County, we have a severe thunderstorm on this little cell here that has been spinning. But now that they've taken the tornado watch out off the board for Houston County, my thought is that this stays below tornadic levels and stays more in line with the severe thunderstorm possibility. It does have, or did have, the potential where it was just turning or spinning enough that they put a tornado tag on it. But it doesn't look like, again, if they're going to drop the tornado warning, then this storm should be able to move out of Houston County by 5:15, and then that would be it in terms of at least tornado warnings. I can't rule it out. We couldn't have a severe thunderstorm warning. That cell there now is the last one. This is till 5:15. They should amend this because the cell is now moved out of San Augustine County. It's here in Shelby County, and it's even weakening further now as it moves up toward Huxley. So this thing is probably about done. In fact, those are the two cells. That one got a little bit stronger as this one has weakened as it's moved east of Newville. I have a feeling what's happened here is this has moved into that part of the atmosphere that has just been robbed of all the energy. There were two others, pretty strong cells that moved through this area just ahead of this one. So this would be the third cell that would come over and tap into the wind speed and the instability that would be left over. And you got to think every time, I guess it would kind of be like, trying to knock down a brick wall. You slam it once, slam it the second time, by the third time you just knock it over and it doesn't have any more strength to stand up to anything. And so that was sort of what's going on here. Or perhaps, you run 3 races back to back to back. By the time you get to the end of the third race, you're just out of energy. And I think that's what these cells are kind of doing. They're running into the atmosphere that had at one point a lot of instability and wind shear, and now have maybe a little bit of wind shear left, but don't have any instability left at all. So once we rob that instability out of those storms, it's like popping a balloon. You blow up the balloon, you got all that energy, and then you pop it, and then it goes away. And then the storms just don't have much more to feed on. And so that's what we're kind of looking at right here. So it's 5:02. We got 13 more minutes to go with these severe thunderstorm warnings. This one to the southeast of Drecka. And we've got the bright greens, the dark reds there. This one has gotten a little bit stronger. This storm has weakened. We thought there might be some cell merger going on, but this one's kind of raced off a little bit farther away from that cell. And as it does, we continue with the storm motion basically from the southwest to the northeast. All right, so Anderson County now dropped from the tornado watch that was in effect until, I believe, 10 p.m. or maybe till 5 p.m., so they're out of it. I think all of the other severe, or the tornado watch that was in effect for Smith County and numerous other counties. Okay, so now we've got a tornado warning going on for Shelby County till 5:45.
Yeah,
right.
So I think that's in correlation with this rotation in the area
down
that
here.
we've got. And looking at some radar products on my phone gets a little bit of a better view than what we've got here. Over the last couple of scans, we've definitely seen this particular signature broaden out, which is, of course, some fantastic news.
Oh, yeah. And then one down to the southwest, probably tightening. for the warning to be expired just a little bit longer?
Yeah, most definitely. It looks like there's certainly still some type of signature there, or something that's going to prompt the National Weather Service to continue to extend this warning. But thankfully for us, we don't have too much longer before this makes its way into Louisiana. So we'll of course stay with you until that's the case. But in the meantime, this is expected to make its way into Union Springs by 5:27, and the rest of the towns we're mentioning are all located in Louisiana. So here in about 15 minutes, we'll be able to see this area of circulation and this potential tornado also get over throughout the rest of Shelby County and eventually into the DeSoto and Sabine parishes.
All right, so and we're seeing, every time we hear the little ding, it's something new from the National Weather Service in Shreveport. So they're canceling the tornado warning for Nacogdoches and San Augustine in Shelby County. So, okay, I'm a little bit, they're continuing it for this one little portion here for Shelby till 5:45. All right, so yeah, there was a separate one. This is now a reissue on these two cells. So Newville, you're fine. Center, still fine. East Hamilton, you're going to be fine. Aiken, Huxley, and Drek is still looking at this cell. It means one last cell, Shelby County, moving up to the northeast at about 40 miles an hour. Hursttown is going to be probably next in line. If there's anything, it'll be Hursttown that could be impacted the most by this storm. Otherwise, that storm is going to pass, and this is our Titan indicator. It's moving northeast at 44 miles an hour. The velocity inside of it right now, not too strong. There is a low-end meso indicator, meaning that there is some turning in this storm, but it's not all that strong at this time. Next scan will be behind this, so it's going to jump across 87. And then Hursttown will probably be okay. East Liberty certainly okay. I think Shelbyville, you're fine, even though you are in the polygon right now. It would be Huxley that we would be most concerned about as that storm moves north and eastward. But it is going to have to pick up some energy because it's just not showing signs of doing much more than just spinning overhead with some low gray clouds, some scary looking clouds, and being threatening at this time. And storm spotters have not reported any type of tornado or funnel with that, so it's merely a radar indicated tornado warning at this time. And so that can happen, but the reason that these are issued is merely for safety and lead time. And so if you need lead time, like we saw in the Legion Fields, DeBerry area, the tornado warning was there. And then that was lead time for the storm, and then it weakened, it recycled, and then suddenly it produced a strong tornado as it moved up to the north and to the northeast. So Harrison County had a tornado tonight, likely, and then other areas to the southwest, there may have been some. We'll be interested to see what National Weather Service storm surveys say here in the coming days on some of these cells that moved overhead and what appeared to be on our debris signatures. It looked like there might have been, it could have been tree limbs, could have been trees, could have been a lot of different things. I'm sorry, say that again? Oh, okay. All right. So we're looking at, so there's Huxley back toward Newville as that storm comes eastward. There's Toledo Bend, northern end of Toledo Bend. This storm will pass over top of that area, and we have until 5:45. So there it is. There's the new scan that's just coming out. It looks like it got just a tad stronger. That leading cell has now moved into Louisiana. That one's gotten just a little bit stronger down here to the southeast of Campty, west of Huxley. And if we zoom in on this a little bit, maybe sample those winds. That's toward Bowles Field. Shelbyville is certainly now in the clear. Velocity is currently at about 50 miles an hour. So there could be a weak, some rotation. Possible funnel cloud could be produced anytime by this cell as it moves farther and farther away from Shelbyville, also farther and farther away from Hursttown and to the west of Huxley, and then moves up into Louisiana. So not a very impressive. It's sort of a broader rotation too. We've seen some tighter couplets. This one's likely a few miles wide. The lightning on it has been increasing just a little bit toward East Liberty. And there's more of an indicator from our Titan indicator of a stronger cell up to the north. But this cell here, we'll wait and see. We'll see. These are older lightning strikes that you're seeing in the dark gray. The newer lightning strikes are going to be in the white. And when we see the newer lightning strikes, again, versus the older lightning strikes. We know that these were probably more than 15 minutes ago, and so the older they get, then we need to see upstream if they're going to be gathering some more numbers in terms of lightning. Certainly not a lot of lightning with these cells that have been moving through today. Not a ton of hail either, just a little bit from time to time. But this one's moving toward Lula, and it'll move into Lula about 5:30. So we may not make it till 5:45 that's what time this warning goes until. It goes for DeSoto and Sabine parishes until 5:45 and Shelby County. So we'll likely see this jump across the area by maybe 5:15 to 5:20, maybe before 5:30. And then once that cell is out of our area, then it'll be on the Louisiana side of the border. So again, you're clear everywhere but this cell right here. And even Houston County with a severe thunderstorm warning that was in effect until I believe 5:15. And then there's some questions coming into the chat room about the tornado warning being canceled ahead of schedule. And you would think that it would be about that that would possibly happen. All right, we have anchor Mata Angeli Lopez on the anchor desk here this evening. Mata, what's new?
Well, nothing that you don't already know, Brett, but I just want to welcome everybody into our CBS 19 News at 5 coverage here. You've been staying on track with our chief meteorologist, Brett Anthony, and also Chandler Jordan as they safely track these storms to get you all the latest up-to-date information. Currently, what we know so far, I want to take a look at this video from Gregg County that we showed you earlier today, but this damage is actually in Wise County. This is over in North Texas, and that was from the tornado that was spotted earlier today, all that damage there. But now you're taking a look at the video from Gregg County. This was sent into us by one of the sheriff's deputies. He was safely at top of the airport and he captured this huge funnel cloud. We haven't heard of any reports of damage in that area, but we are definitely keeping an eye out on that. We do have crews on the scene this evening. One is headed over to Elysian Fields. We spoke to the emergency coordinator there, and he mentioned that there was some damage to the high school there, multiple power lines down. Just a reminder to everybody, if you're seeing anything like this in your area, stay inside and do not try and hop over any power lines that may be active. That is very dangerous. For now, we're taking a look at other damage reports here. This is Wise County. We were looking at this a little bit earlier, but as you could see, just the devastation in that community. This is a neighborhood that was wrecked. If we had a spotter in that area say he saw the tornado with his own eyes, it was incredibly scary. He was taking shelter, but you know, we live in Texas, so when there's tornadoes, people tend to step outside to see what's happening in the action. But thankfully, none of reports of any injuries in that area. Now you're taking a look at video. This is from earlier today in Grapevine. Scary situation there. There was a tornado that possibly ripped through that Sam's Club. There were some images that were shown earlier today with the damage there. And there's also reports of a lot of damage near the Grapevine Mills Mall there. But we want to get over to our Doug Dunbar. He is reporting that this is all part of a large winter storm that is sweeping across the nation, and he's showing us some damage now.
Tornado! Amateur video shows a large funnel cloud looming near Highway 380 in Decatur, Texas. That area was under a tornado warning. Residents told to take cover in an interior room or the lowest floor. Sirens blared as this cloud took shape near Fort Worth with swirling wind and rain. More than a half dozen confirmed tornadoes touched down in Texas and Oklahoma Tuesday. Some of the curious had to confirm it for themselves.
I literally opened the door to go and look outside, and I noticed a tornado was literally passing right next to us.
This home took a direct hit here, and it is, like I said, it is pretty much destroyed.
A tornado touched down in Wayne, Oklahoma, splintering homes in its path. Schools announced Tuesday morning they would be closed. The severe weather is part of a massive winter storm system moving over the central U.S. It's responsible for the tornadoes down south and blizzard conditions up north. The Dakotas and Nebraska could see more than a foot of snow, while high wind speeds will make visibility near zero in some spots. Doug Dunbar, CBS News, Dallas, Texas.
And that is just some of the damage reports that we're seeing right now. We'll, of course, have much more as we continue our coverage here at CBS 19 News at 5. We'll see you after the break. As we come back from break, we want to welcome you into our CBS 19 News at 5, where we have been tracking some tornado warnings all throughout East Texas for a couple of hours now. We were joined now by our chief meteorologist, Brett Anthony, and there's still one storm that they're tracking at this moment. He says it's in Shelby County. Brett, what's that looking like?
It should be moving out of the area here, I would imagine, within the next 15 minutes. I think all of the warnings will be over for East Texas by 5:30. So far, we had today, City of Wascom. This is interesting. They're reporting the damage at Old Town Road at 451 north of DeBerry. So it was really DeBerry toward Elysian Fields. Large outbuilding damage, several trees shredded, and the fire department was clearing trees off the road at 451. That was just east of Old Town. That was earlier this afternoon. And then, of course, you were reporting on the Grapevine damage. That was photos of damage to buildings and commercial buildings near Grapevine Mills on social media. And the damage starts back at the Sam's Club in Grapevine, and there were 5 injuries reported from the National Weather Service. All right, here's what we have going on right now. This is CBS 19 radar, and meteorologist Chandler Jordan is kind of driving the radar for me here this evening. This is the last cell, Shelby County till 5:45, but that does include DeSoto and Sabine parishes on the Louisiana side. So the cell itself, if we zoom in here, you'll be able to notice that it is right just about ready to cross over the north end of the Toledo Bend north of Huxley. So the little circulation is right in there. This is our Titan indicator. It's telling us there might be a little bit of hail or perhaps just a slight strengthening of the cell itself. The lightning strikes here with inside that cell. There's a little bit of lightning. The darker gray areas, older lightning. Newer lightning strikes are going to be in those lighter areas. So that, again, is just going to jump across the state line here probably within the next, I'd say, 10 minutes, and then that will be the last of the warnings. We'll switch back over to reflectivity. I want to show you what's coming up from the southwest. The Storm Prediction Center is still a little bit concerned about a couple of cells down here in Sabine and San Augustine County and southeastern parts of Angelina County, though they don't currently have any warnings on these cells. This line here, while it has some lightning and thunder and there are some heavier downpours, essentially when Chandler puts this into motion, you'll watch the direction. Yeah, they're behind the cold front. So the cold front essentially undercutting those thunderstorms, lifting them off the ground. Notice that they're not really moving from the southwest to northeast as much now as they are moving more east to northeast. So a directional change means that they're now starting to move into more stable air, so these should stay below severe limits. These other cells down here in deep East Texas, they dropped the tornado watch for Houston County. That's good news. That takes these cells and places them in a spot where if there is an additional warning, it may just be limited to a severe thunderstorm warning. Again, these cells here look a little bit stronger, but they're moving more so into the Louisiana area. So I think, I don't want to call it for sure, but it should be about over in terms of severe weather. Certainly by 7 o'clock tonight, we should be fine in terms of the severe weather threat. But there are still numerous showers and thunderstorms right along and near the front. In fact, let's zoom in on this area closer to Longview, perhaps, and we can see on that Longview cell just some showers, thunderstorms moving out of Gregg County. These, again, aren't severe, but you can see downpours here from Marshall to Tatum to Carthage, Dotson, Henderson still in some light rain, Laneville in some light rain, Cushing back to Rusk. The rain is coming to an end at Rusk. Rain over at White House. Alto, pretty good non-severe thunderstorm right now, probably loud, banging around outside. You're just seeing some flashes of lightning here and crashes of thunder. Crockett and Kennard also the same. And then southwest of that, as we go into southern Houston County toward Lovelady, that cell there, this may be kind of moving to the northeast, probably showing a few signs that it's just rotating a little bit. But other than that, it doesn't look severe at this time. So we'll widen everything back out again. We'll put it back into motion, and we'll play this out for you and talk about how once this front gets through, there will be additional showers tomorrow in the morning, and then behind that, the colder air will start to move in. The temperatures we saw today made it into the lower 70s. This will be the last time we see lower 70s. At least for a few weeks, maybe right on through the end of the year. It might be a little bit of a break as some very cold air is poised to move in. I'll talk more about that coming up tonight at 6. We'll also talk about the threat or another chance for rain coming in next week with another strong front. And we'll also check out some, there's data that would suggest that with the colder air in places we get toward the second half of the month, maybe we see some festive flurries flying around. There's a possibility But again, to recap everyone, severe thunderstorm threat winding down. Tornado watch still in effect for deep East Texas, but really over for most of East Texas, including Smith County. I think Gregg County is also out of that watch at this time, and the watch was just canceled also down in Houston County, so that is certainly good news. We'll take a look at the forecast again one more time here before the bottom of the half hour.
On to news around the nation now. The former CEO of failed cryptocurrency exchange FTX is facing 8 criminal charges. Sam Bankman-Fried was arrested in the Bahamas last night, and he's accused of defrauding investors of millions of dollars by diverting their money to his private hedge fund and then using the money to make venture investments, lavish real estate purchases, and large political donations. It's still unclear when Fried will be handed over to U.S. authorities to face those charges. President Joe Biden delivered remarks from the White House today detailing a new report that showed inflation has slowed down for a 5th month in a row. According to the report, U.S. inflation slowed to 7.1% compared to 9% in the summer. President Biden says the slowing inflation means Americans are seeing lower gas prices in cars and toys, but there's still work to be done.
Make no mistake, prices are still too high. We have a lot more work to do, but things are getting better, headed in the right direction.
The president also shared his prediction on when we can see prices return back to normal. He's hoping to see them drop even more by the end of next year. President Biden signed legislation into law today protecting same-sex and interracial marriages. Congress sprang into action to pass the bill last week, months after the Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade. Deborah Alfarone reports from the White House.
A star-studded event on the South Lawn of the White House as President Biden signed the bipartisan Respect for Marriage Act into law.
All right.
The landmark bill ensures same-sex and interracial marriages are recognized in every state should the Supreme Court decide to overturn key decisions legalizing those unions in the future.
Marriage is a simple proposition. Who do you love? And will you be loyal to that person you love? It's not more complicated than that.
Advocates who pushed Congress to enshrine those rights into law were among thousands in attendance for the celebration.
With courage, fortitude, and unbreakable unity, we have achieved a landmark victory in the fight for full equality.
Thank you for fighting for our equal humanity and dignity.
While the bill provides a safety net for same-sex and interracial couples, President Biden says that more work needs to be done to protect members of the LGBTQ+ community from discrimination and violence.
We have to speak out. We must stop the hate and violence, like we just saw in Colorado Springs, where a place of acceptance and celebration was targeted for violence and terror.
Back in 2012, President Biden famously declared his support for same-sex marriage. 10 years later, he's vowing to continue his legacy on gay rights and bring pride to the White House. Deborah Alfarone, CBS News, the White House.
All right, pretty dynamic storm spinning through the area right now, but the showers and thunderstorms are now starting to move into deep East Texas and will eventually move out of here probably between 7:30 and 8 o'clock. And then we'll see more rain tomorrow morning. It'll be cooler, 62 in the afternoon, 57 only on Thursday. Some frosty mornings coming up Friday, Saturday, and again Sunday.
Thanks so much for trusting CBS 19 with your weather coverage. We'll be back at 6 o'clock with even more information.